Chapter 30-41. Lin Sun was stunned. He suppressed the doubts in his heart and didn't say anything more. Old monster Xian, I'll leave the sect to you. Before leaving, Tai Xian and Yan Ji told Xian Failing and Lin Sun. Martial nephew, give me back my Dharma form of willpower. Kong Ju stretched out his hand and looked at Lin Sun with a smile. With your current cultivation, you don't need it at all. Lin Sun also smiled and shook his head. It's good to keep it as a memento. Kong Ju was stunned and scolded with a smile. Memento? Are you sure that I won't come back? Forget it. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. Maybe it will be useful in the future. After saying that, he stopped smiling and cupped his hands to Lin Sun. Thank you so much for these years. Lin Sun was shocked. When he was about to say something, Kong Ju had already turned around and disappeared into the vortex door. You don't need to thank me. Martial uncle, if you really want to thank me, just come back alive. Lin Sun murmured in his heart. Before long, Tai Xian, Yan Ji, Dong Li, Ji Zheng and others also left one after another. Seeing their figures disappear into the vortex door one by one, Lin Sun couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. Who would have thought that today's situation would evolve to such a point? Golden Cicada looked into the depths of the sky. The eternal catastrophe against Yu Beihai was still going on. After staring for a moment, Golden Cicada sighed softly and waved his sleeve. A jade bottle appeared and he handed it to Lin Sun. When the catastrophe is over, just give this bottle to the person who is going through the catastrophe. Lin Sun's heart tightened and he said, Senior, did you see anything? Golden Cicada said gently, This is the catastrophe. When everything is over, you will know it at a glance. Lin Sun held the jade bottle in his hand and took a deep breath, saying, Thank you for your help this time. If not, today's catastrophe will definitely harm Yuan sect. Golden Cicada laughed. You'd better thank your master. I just acted according to his instructions. Well, without further ado, I should leave. Speaking of this, he couldn't help but look into the depths of the sky again. Otherwise, I won't be able to leave. After saying that, he waved his sleeve. His figure and the vortex door disappeared at the same time. All of a sudden, only Lin Sun, Xian Failing, and Zhong Qiu were left on the Yuan sect's side. In the distance, Tu Mohan, Ji Kong, and the other old monsters of the ancestral court were there. After experiencing the numerous shocking events from before, they'd aroused the intention to retreat since a long time ago. However, they didn't dare act arbitrarily because the existence of the Golden Cicada was truly too terrifying, and it caused them to not dare arouse the thought of escaping. However, when they saw the terrifying existences of the Yuan sect disappear like the Golden Cicada, Tu Mohan, Ji Kong, and the others simultaneously heaved a sigh of relief, and they felt as if they'd taken a trip to the gates of hell and had finally returned to life. At this moment, they just wanted to leave immediately. However, before they could act, Lin Sun said coldly in the distance, Everyone, no one can interfere with our battle now. At first, Lin Sun was fighting with the Eternal Realm Dharma images of the Shaman sect and the Zen sect. He had the upper hand and killed 9 Eternal Realm Dharma images. However, it was also at that time that Tu Mohan used his trump card. He summoned the will of the witchcraft cult's founder, Heaven Witchcraft. From then on, changes began to appear in the situation. The Dharma images of the patriarchs of the 4 ancestral halls appeared one after another, confronting and fighting. Immediately after, Yuan Feihu and the other 4 Eternal Realm existences from the 9th Heaven region descended on the battlefield. After that, Tai Xian, Yan Ji, Kong Ju, and the others appeared one after another. Later on, the 2 ancestral halls of the Zen sect and the Spirit sect each sent out 2 Eternal Realm existences, causing the entire situation to show signs of being out of control. Until Zhong Qiu appeared, he was like a game-breaker, turning the situation around. The Golden Cicada's attack could be said to have determined the universe by himself. He moved the killing calamity against the ancestral court of the Yuan sect to the Kunlun ruins in one fell swoop. Because of this, the primordial realm and the Yuan sect were both safe. It was easy to describe, but every single one of them could be said to be horrifying, filled with killing intent and dangerous to the extreme. At this moment, all the dangers had been resolved. How could Lin Sun let Tu Mohan, Ji Kong, and the others go? As he spoke, his figure had already flashed out, and he didn't hesitate to use the time seal. Buzz, the rules of heaven and earth seemed to be drawn. Countless streams of light poured out, intertwined with each other, and turned into a forbidden array, covering the sea area. It also sealed off the retreat of Tu Mohan, Ji Kong, and the others. On the side of the two ancestral halls, there were still 6 eternal realm Dharma bodies, as well as a group of transcendent realm Great Perfection and transcendent realm late stage existences left. The lineup was still extremely strong. However, facing Lin Sun, Zhong Qiu, and Xian failing in the distance, their hearts sank. Everyone, whether or not we can leave this place alive depends on this battle. Taking a deep breath, Tu Mohan's eyes were cold. Boom! The 6 eternal realm Dharma bodies attacked immediately, but they didn't go against Lin Sun. Instead, they targeted the power of the time seal. Obviously, they wanted to work together to break this array. At the same time, Tu Mohan and Ji Kong each led a group of old monsters under their command and attacked. They didn't want to kill the enemy, but they wanted to buy more time for the 6 eternal realm Dharma bodies to break the time seal. Little junior brother, let's see who kills more opponent. Take this opportunity to let senior brother witness the glory of an immortal supreme, said Zhong Qiu with a smile. His figure soared into the sky, his black robe fluttering in the wind. His whole body emitted an unparalleled sharp light, like a peerless divine sword unscrupulously displaying its sharpness. Clang! A dull and lusterless black sword appeared in Zhong Qiu's hand. He did not dodge or evade his opponent who was charging at him, and he charged straight at him instead. Why not? As Lin Sun spoke, his tall figure soared into the sky. Boom! The 5 Dao bodies moved together and rushed into the enemy's group together with Zhong Qiu himself. Seeing this, Xian failing tactfully chose to watch from the side. The 2 brothers wanted to compete, and he wouldn't blindly interfere. Boom! The battle erupted and the void trembled. Zhong Qiu's aura was unparalleled, just like when he was in the dark world back then. He had a domineering aura looking down on the masses. The higher one's cultivation, the more arrogant one's heart was. With the cultivation of the transcendent realm at the full level, as soon as the battle began, he defeated an opponent heavily. His Dao sword pressed down, shaking the opponent's 7 orifices and causing him to bleed and fly backward. His domineering attitude surprised Xian failing. As expected, the most arrogant person in Fangsuan Mountain was not comparable to ordinary people in the same realm. This scene was also seen by Lin Sun, and he was very happy in his heart. Back in the dark world, as the master of Bronze Sparrow Tower, one of the 3 dark giants, second senior brother was absolutely an existence that he could only look up to. At that time, it was also Zhong Qiu's protection that helped him resolve many disputes and killings. Now, second senior brother was still unparalleled and more elegant than before. However, Lin Sun was no longer the little junior brother who needed protection in the past. Now, he could fight side by side with second senior brother, and his cultivation was also on par with second senior brother. Kill! Lin Sun was full of heroic spirit, and he didn't show any mercy, wantonly displaying his cultivation. If it were those eternal realm Dharmalaksana, it might take some effort. But in the face of these people in the same realm, no matter how many of them there were, for Lin Sun, it was not much of a threat. Puff, puff. His opponents fell one after another, setting off scarlet flowers of blood. In just a moment, 7 people in Transcendent Realm Great Perfection died in Lin Sun's hands. On Zhong Qiu's side, only 1 Transcendent Realm Great Perfection and 5 Transcendent Late Realm experts were killed. It was clear who was superior. At least in Xian Feiling's opinion, even though Zhong Qiu's combat power was amazing, compared to his little junior brother, he was slightly inferior. Zhong Qiu also saw this scene. Although he didn't say anything, he was extremely gratified. He obeyed the orders of his master and guarded the dark world for countless years, just to wait for a unique lotus to bloom. In Fangtsuan Mountain, only he knew the meaning of that Taoist hymn. The path of immortal supremacy, nirvana of freedom. The eternal tribulation of oblivion, a unique lotus. Now, this lotus finally bloomed to the extreme, blooming the light of immortal supremacy, and becoming famous all over the world. The two of them had very different mental states. However, when it came to killing their enemies, none of them showed mercy. Even though he knew that it would be difficult to surpass Lin Sun even if he fought with his life on the line, Zhong Qiu didn't give up. He had his own state of mind. Just like what his master said, a disciple didn't have to be inferior to his master, and there was no need to determine who was superior based on rankings. The most important thing was to surpass the master. Boom, the Taoist hymn rumbled and blood splattered. The battle was completely one-sided. In just a moment, the witchcraft sect and Zen sect suffered heavy casualties, with Transcendent Realm Great Perfection falling one after another. Tu Mohan's eyes were bloodshot, and his eyes were about to pop out. He shouted in grief, "Old ancestors, please come and help." In the distance, the 6 eternal realm Dharma images that were bombarding the time seal felt their hearts sink. Their all-out attacks could only shake the time seal. If they wanted to break it, they couldn't do it in a short period of time. At this moment, when they heard Tu Mohan's sorrowful cry, how could they not know that the situation had become extremely serious? Fight! They looked at each other and moved towards the battlefield together. Seeing this, Lin Sun took a deep breath and suddenly flashed towards Zhong Qiu. He grabbed his arm and instantly left the area covered by the time seal. All of a sudden, the 6 eternal realm Dharma images missed their target. "Senior brother, just wait and see. Leave these opponents to me." As Lin Sun spoke, he swallowed a drop of innate divine dew. His consumed cultivation was instantly restored to its peak state. "Can you fight against those eternal realm Dharma images?" Zhong Qiu was stunned. "Yes." The one who answered was Xian Feiling. He teleported over and stood beside Zhong Qiu, saying, "When you truly witness your junior brother's skills, you'll know what the prestige of a supreme master is in this realm." Zhong Qiu was surprised and said, "Then I'll have to see it clearly." As they spoke, Lin Sun once again rushed into the area covered by the time seal. Chapter 3042. After a round of killing, the witchcraft cult and Zen cult had already suffered heavy casualties. Now there were only 6 Transcendent Realm Great Perfection on the witchcraft cult side, and 7 on the Zen cult side. The other Transcendent Realm late-stage characters had already been slaughtered. Even though these old monsters were still alive, they were all injured. At this moment, the only thing they could rely on was the 6 eternal realm Dharma Laksana. But they had already seen Lin Sun's strength. How could they not know that as long as they were trapped in the time restriction, they were doomed to have no chance to leave alive? "Fight him!" Seeing Lin Sun, who had recovered to his peak state, rushing in, Tu Mohan roared. He was completely desperate and didn't care about his life. The others were the same. Even Ji Kong and the other powerhouses of the Dhyana sect were determined to fight to the death. However, at this moment, Lin Sun waved his hand and removed the power of the time restriction. This sudden scene took everyone by surprise and caught them off guard. The opportunity was right in front of them. Should they escape? Fighting spirit was the same as morale. It would be boosted at one go, weakened at the second, and exhausted at the third. Seeing such an opportunity, Tu Mohan and the others' fighting spirit, which was originally ready to fight to the death, was shaken imperceptibly. The reason why Lin Sun removed the power of the time restriction was not to shake the opponent's fighting spirit, but the power of the devouring abyss talent couldn't be exerted at the same time. Otherwise, the power of time would conflict with each other. However, how could Lin Sun really give them a chance to escape? At the same time, when he removed the time restriction, he had already exerted the blade of time without hesitation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hundreds of millions of sword chi whistled out, condensing into a solemn and grand divine talisman formation in the void. It was the supreme inheritance of Oracle Mountain, the infinite divine talisman. The infinite divine talisman was boundless, and the great way was endless. The most terrifying thing was that the entire infinite divine talisman was constructed by the power of the blade of time. Although it was not the time restriction, its power was undoubtedly more terrifying. Boom! The divine talisman formation shrouded the world. At that moment, an incredible spectacle appeared. It was as if the river of time flowed backward, and all kinds of scenes of the past were reflected in the world. It was strange and dazzling. In an instant, the power of the blade of time, which could last for a quarter of an hour, was exhausted. Even half of Lin Sun's cultivation was taken away. This was the first time he'd combined the blade of time divine ability with the supreme inheritance of Oracle Mountain, the infinite divine talisman. If his current cultivation wasn't sufficiently deep, then he would be utterly unable to endure such consumption. But when he saw the infinite divine talisman flow with the aura of the blade of time that was reflected in the heavens and the earth, Lin Sun couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment in his heart. In the years that he had been in seclusion, in order to explore the mysteries of the blade of time to the extreme, he had put in a lot of effort and tried countless times. In the end, he was able to deduce such a powerful attack. To put it simply, when the blade of time was fully unleashed, it was like a Tao weapon, and its power could be fused into the battle. This was similar to the door of exile, which could be attached to the abyssal sword cauldron in battle. Boom! The divine talisman formation diagram revolved and rumbled. Time fluttered about, and it was illusory and mysterious. No, suddenly, a scream of horror rang out. A transcendent realm great perfection tried to escape, but his body was restrained by the power of the infinite divine talisman formation. When he resisted with all his strength, he was contaminated by the power of the blade of time. Suddenly, he seemed to have become countless years younger. As for his cultivation, it had been completely destroyed. This strange scene caused Zhong Qiu and Xian Failing, who were watching the battle from afar, to gasp. Reversing time and cutting off one's cultivation, the transcendent realm great perfection was instantly reduced to the mortal world and returned to his original state before he started cultivating. This was too horrifying. The great way was difficult and cultivation was not easy. To possess the cultivation of the transcendent realm great perfection, how much effort must one have put in along the way, and how much suffering and bloody baptism must one have experienced. But all of this collapsed in an instant and turned into nothingness. Such a blow could simply make any cultivator suffer a fate worse than death. Bang! After the old monster's cultivation was cut off, he couldn't withstand the fluctuations in the battlefield at all after losing all his strength. His figure was torn apart in an instant and vanished in a puff of smoke. Moreover, this was merely the beginning. Along with the infinite divine talisman's formation descending, Tu Mohan, Ji Kong, and the other old monsters were restrained. They seemed as if they were desperately resisting, as they were deeply afraid of being contaminated by the power of the blade of time. However, the infinite divine talisman was the supreme inheritance of Oracle Mountain. Now that it had been fully utilized by Lin Sun, how could its might be ordinary? Along with a wave of rumbling, the glow of the Tao surged, and it directly trapped and drowned the figures of Tu Mohan and the others within it. After that, waves of shrill, furious, and unwilling voices resounded. Damn it! Why is this happening? Why? Lin Sun, you'll die a horrible death! It was clearly visible that the appearances of Tu Mohan and the others had become younger at an extremely swift speed, yet their cultivation had been cut off in unison. In the end, their souls dispersed within the infinite divine talisman's formation. Zhong Qiu and Xian Feiling's hearts surged as they watched this scene. All of them were seniors of the two ancestral halls. Each of them had lived longer than the other, possessed monstrous authority, and possessed reputations that shook the world. They were overlords that were respected by all living beings. But now, all of them had been annihilated here. The 6 eternal realm Dharma images were restrained as well, but the eternal energy they possessed was able to resist the invasion of the power of time. Moreover, under the circumstances that they attacked with all their strength, the power of the infinite divine talisman formation couldn't do anything to them for a while. But it was enough for Lin Sun. Bang! His main body and the 5 Taoist bodies didn't waste any time, and they charged towards an eternal realm Dharma image. It was a robust man in a purple robe, and he was resisting the power of the infinite divine talisman with all his might. When Lin Sun and his clone attacked, they were instantly caught off guard. In the blink of an eye, the Dharma image of the man in a purple robe was directly annihilated along with a shocking roar of rage. How is it? In the distance, Xian Feiling couldn't help but look at Zhong Qiu. He could clearly see that Zhong Qiu's eyes narrowed, and there was a wisp of shock between his brows. However, in the face of Xian Feiling's question, Zhong Qiu pretended to be indifferent and said, "As the most famous descendant of Mount Fangsuan, isn't it normal to have such a performance? Old weirdo Xian, I think you're making a fuss about nothing." The corner of Xian Feiling's mouth twitched, and he said angrily, "You don't mean what you say." Zhong Qiu smiled and said, "I know you want to see me shocked and excited, but I won't let you see it." While they were talking, another earth-shattering roar came from the battlefield. 2 eternal realm Dharma images actually disregarded the suppression of the infinite divine talisman and attacked Lin Sun desperately, as if they wanted to die together with Lin Sun. Lin Sun's main body suddenly took a deep breath, his sleeves fluttered, and he slashed out with his sword with an unprecedented force. Bang! This sword was like an abyss. It was like a prison, full of mysterious and unfathomable aura of the immortal law, and in the blink of an eye, it split an eternal realm Dharma image. From a distance, it was like a knife cutting a mountain, splitting it into 2. Then, the split eternal realm Dharma image exploded and turned into a rain of light that splashed all over the sky. The other eternal realm Dharma image was besieged by Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies, and it was a head-on confrontation. In the blink of an eye, the eternal realm Dharma image was directly blasted apart. The eternal realm Dharma image can use a part of the power of heaven and earth, which is the key reason why they can easily kill any immortal figures, but this power seems to be unable to do anything to my little junior brother, Zhong Qiu pondered. With his eyesight, he could naturally see the various details and mysteries of the battle. You can't see through it, right? What shocked me is that the power of the immortal law he mastered can easily dissolve the power of heaven and earth. It's extremely heaven-defying. Xian Feiling sighed with emotion. Why was the eternal realm so powerful? The key was that they could already control and use the power of heaven and earth. You can't see through it, but it doesn't mean I can't. Zhong Qiu seemed to understand, and his eyes were filled with extraordinary splendor. There was no doubt that his little junior brother had begun to refine the Nirvana order. It should be known that the Nirvana order was born in the Nirvana of freedom, and it was an unprecedented good fortune that his master had been waiting for since ancient times. It had been controlled by Lin Sun a long time ago. Only the power of this order could resist and dissolve the power of heaven and earth. Xian Feiling couldn't help but ask curiously, "What did you see?" Zhong Qiu smiled and said, "I'm not telling you." Xian Feiling almost rolled his eyes. Zhong Qiu is simply unreasonable like a child. Bang! In the distance, the infinite divine talisman's formation collapsed because its power had been exhausted. On the other hand, only the 2 eternal realms Dharma images were left in a fierce battle with Lin Sun. Moreover, their Dharma images were injured and had become illusory and blurry. Little junior brother, stand down. Let me test the strength of the Eternal Realm's Dharma images. Suddenly, Zhongqiu flashed into the battlefield with blazing eyes as if he'd seen a pair of superb practice targets, and he swung his Dao sword at the first possible moment to attack. Lin Sun was stunned and immediately withdrew. Then I'll hold the line for you, senior brother. He and the 5 Dao bodies dispersed in the surroundings and waited for Lin Sun in a battle formation. Kill. The 2 Eternal Realms Dharma images didn't hold any hope of leaving, but when they saw Zhongqiu charging over, they glanced at each other and realized that their chance had come. If they could capture Zhongqiu, it would be sufficient to resolve the situation of the entire army being annihilated. Rumble. They seemed to be desperate, using all their strength to capture Zhongqiu. The pressure on Zhongqiu suddenly increased, and he couldn't help but look solemn. He exerted all his strength to fight with all his might, but even so, he still fell into a situation of being suppressed. He couldn't help but be shocked. When he was watching the battle from a distance, he saw Lin Sun killing the Eternal Realm's Dharma images as easily as slaughtering chickens and monkeys. But when he fought in person, he felt how terrifying the Eternal Realm's Dharma images were. Moreover, the 2 Eternal Realms Dharma images had long been injured, and their power was much weaker than before. Under such circumstances, he was suppressed to the point that he couldn't even lift his head. How could he not be shocked? It was easy to know but difficult to do. Watching the battle and fighting in person, it was indeed completely different. I'll continue to update at night. It's just that my train of thought is a little late. Chapter 30-43. The battle came to an end without any mishap. The 2 Eternal Realms spiritual manifestations were finally killed by Zhongqiu. It took a long time to finish a cup of tea. Zhongqiu also paid a heavy price. He was injured, but it was not serious. His hair was disheveled, his cheeks were pale, and he was gasping for breath. At the end of the battle, he exhaled a long breath and said with emotion, "Now I finally know how high your realm is." Lin Sun stepped forward and handed a bottle of elixir to Zhongqiu, saying, "Senior brother, heal your wounds first." In the distance, Xian Feiling, who had seen the whole scene, murmured, "Sure enough, all the descendants of Fang Xiyuan are abnormal." Zhongqiu's strength alone was enough to defeat 2 Eternal Realm Dharma idols in a 1-on-2 situation. His strength could be said to be heaven-defying. Of course, he might be inferior to Lin Sun, but compared with other people in the world at the same realm, Zhongqiu could be called the overlord of this realm. The infinite star sea had long disappeared. Countless shocking ravines crisscrossed the earth, and everything was destroyed. The chaotic space storm raged, making a whimpering sound. This was the sequela of the war. Even though Golden Cicada took action in time to resolve the most serious disaster, the destruction caused by the aftermath of the battle was still shocking. At least in a short time, it was impossible for the infinite star sea to recover to its original state. The battle was over. Lin Sun cleaned up the spoils on the field and looked into the depths of the sky. There, the light of catastrophe was blazing and thunder was surging. The eternal catastrophe against Yu Beihai was still going on. The aura it emitted was frightening. Let's go back to the sect immediately. Xian Feiling's eyebrows were solemn. Although the killing from the outside world had been resolved, it was still hard to predict whether Yu Beihai could succeed in proving the Eternal Realm. Whoosh, whoosh. Their figures soon disappeared at the entrance of Yuan's sect. Is it over? The terrible catastrophe didn't come. What the hell is going on? Why did such a terrible disaster appear for no reason? At the same time, in the entire seventh heaven, hundreds of millions of creatures gradually calmed down from the panic and despair. The catastrophe that threatened to destroy the world didn't really come, but for the hundreds of millions of creatures scattered in the seventh heaven, it was no less than a trip to the gates of hell. Yet now, when they sensed that the energy of the laws in the heavens and the earth had gradually returned to normal, and when they saw that the inconceivable phenomena of calamity had stopped appearing in the sky, everyone felt as if they'd survived a calamity, and they felt both relieved and bewildered. What was going on? At the same time, in the first to the sixth heaven, and even in the eighth heaven, everyone was talking about this unprecedented disaster that has never been seen since ancient times. However, compared to the seventh heaven, the other heavens didn't feel it strongly, and the impact they suffered wasn't that great, so although they were shocked and puzzled, they didn't panic too much. Only in the eighth heaven, the top 10 immortal giants keenly smelled a different aura and noticed something abnormal. However, even they were unable to guess the outcome of this calamity that targeted the Origin sect's ancestral court. That very day, these Undyings sent their forces out to scout for information. Primordial realm. The terrifying heavenly tribulation poured down like a waterfall. Ubehai's figure was fighting in the heavenly tribulation. The scene was terrifying. Do what you should do, don't worry about me, I'll watch from here. Zhong Qiu immediately stayed and watched this eternal catastrophe. Lin Sun thought for a while and said, "Senior, I'll stay too." Before Golden Cicada left, he gave him a jade bottle and asked him to give it to Yu Beihai after this eternal catastrophe ended. "Okay, I'll go find old Fong and the others." Xian Feiling flew straight to the Tian Yuan secret realm. Now, Fang Daoping, De Guyong, Yuan Wutian, and other deputy pavilion masters were all in the Tian Yuan secret realm, so they still didn't know what was happening outside. Until Xian Feiling's figure left, Lin Sun asked, "Senior brother, now you should tell me why Senior Golden Cicada insisted on letting Martial Uncle Kong Ju and the others go to Kunlun ruins together, right?" Zhong Qiu thought for a while and said, "The sky is about to change." The sky is about to change? Lin Sun's eyes narrowed slightly. Zhong Qiu said in a light voice, "Today's situation just happens to be like a game of chess, and it's very likely that the person playing the chess is the culprit behind the calamity of an era." Lin Sun said sternly, "Before, Ancestor Su Yin of the Spirit Society also speculated so and said that the real target of this killing tribulation should be me." Zhong Qiu could not help but praise, as expected of a great sage who had walked through many epochs. Senior Void Invisibility's deduction is the same as Master and Senior Golden Cicada. Lin Sun's heart tightened. "Is it really against me?" Zhong Qiu smiled and said, "What? Are you afraid, little junior brother?" Lin Sun shook his head. "I'm not afraid. I just never thought that the ultimate purpose of today's event would be to deal with me." Zhong Qiu said, "Shizuan once said that there is only nirvana? Only with such power can you threaten the mastermind behind the scenes. In the past, you didn't reveal your nirvana chi. Practically no one in the world believed that the Tao path of an immortal paragon truly existed. But it's different now. Not only do the witchcraft sect, Zen sect, and the eternal gods of the ninth heaven know about this, but even the mastermind behind the scenes should have been alerted." After a pause, he said, "Just like today's killing tribulation, if no one instructed them to do so, do you think the witchcraft sect, Zen sect, and the ninth heaven would have mobilized so many forces for this? Or are they not worried that an all-out war with the Yuan sect would cause them to suffer huge casualties?" Lin Sun thought of what happened today. Even the Dharma images of the founders of the various ancestral courts and the true bodies of the Eternal Realm experts had been mobilized. This was indeed beyond his imagination. If no one instructed them to do so, would the witchcraft sect, Zen sect, and the eternal gods of the ninth heaven be willing to send so many terrifying forces to fight? Is this all controlled by the mastermind behind the scenes? Lin Sun felt a chill in his heart. Zhong Qiu said, "It should be so. Senior brother, do you know if the mastermind behind the scenes is a human, or an extremely mysterious and terrifying rule power?" Lin Sun couldn't help but ask. As early as in the Ruins of Fortune, he had asked Chen Linkong, but Chen Linkong couldn't give a clear answer. because in the changes of many eras in the past, no one had seen the mastermind behind the scenes at all, including Chen Linkong's grandfather, Chen Shi, who had begun to search for clues related to the mastermind behind the scenes a long time ago, but it seemed that he also didn't find much. Sure enough, Zhong Qiu also shook his head and said, "Not to mention me, even Master and Senior Golden Cicada still have some guesses and inferences so far." Speaking of this, he thought of something and said, "Junior brother, Master left a long time ago to look for the ruins of Wonderful Tao. Do you know why he did this?" Lin Sun said, "It is said that there is a way to completely resolve the great silence lifeless tribulation in the ruins of Wonderful Tao." Zhong Qiu nodded and said, "Exactly. But most importantly, a place like the ruins of the Tao isn't something that the person that's pulling the strings behind the scenes can control. Perhaps we'll only be able to find out the true identity of that person there." Lin Sun sighed softly. "I really don't have the mood to care about this now." Zhong Qiu laughed. "Are you worried that you'll never have a peaceful day after being targeted by the mastermind behind the scenes?" Before Lin Sun could answer, Zhong Qiu said, "Don't worry, it's impossible for the mastermind behind the scenes to appear before the calamity of the era within 1,000 years." Lin Sun was surprised. "Why do you say that?" Zhong Qiu shrugged and said, "Master said it. If you want to know, you can ask him when you see him in the future." Lin Sun was speechless. Zhong Qiu patted him on the shoulder and said, "If the mastermind behind the scenes appears, it's equivalent to walking in front of the curtain. It can't be said to be the mastermind anymore. Over the many eras, no one knows its true face because it has never revealed any traces. It's the same now." After a pause, he continued, "As for Senior Golden Cicada's insistence on letting Martial Uncle Kong Ju and the others head to the Kunlun ruins, it's very simple. It won't be long before the eternal true world changes." Lin Sun was shocked. "Senior brother, please explain." In the past, before the calamity of the era descended, the great silence lifeless tribulation that targeted eternal realm existences would erupt one after another. Only by entering the Kunlun ruins will we have any hope of avoiding such a calamity. Zhong Qiu said, "According to Master and Senior Golden Cicada's deduction, in the next few years, the great silence lifeless tribulation that belongs to this era will appear one after another. If we don't leave the eternal true world as soon as possible, it's very likely that we'll suffer a fatal blow from the great silence lifeless tribulation. Therefore, to those eternal realm existences, the earlier they leave, the safer they will be. Right now, Master's Will and Senior Golden Cicada are both in the Kunlun ruins, so they can still help Martial Uncle Kong Ju and the others. If we delay any longer, we won't be able to help even if we want to." Lin Sun came to a realization. He had heard before that the Kunlun ruins was an extremely special Tao ruins. Every time the calamity of the era descended, those eternal realm existences would gather there and fight to avoid the attack of the great silence lifeless tribulation. Of course, at that time, they could also find clues to the ruins of myriad wonders in the Kunlun ruins. The so-called fight was to fight for the opportunity to go to the ruins of myriad wonders Tao. So, even the eternal realm existences of the eternal God clan in the ninth heaven will leave one after another in the next few years? Lin Sun's eyes lit up. He knew very well what this meant. Zhong Qiu said, "That's right. In order to protect themselves, the eternal God clan in the ninth heaven has to make preparations in advance. If it's not an important matter, they won't easily intervene in matters outside the ninth heaven. This situation will continue until the arrival of the era calamity." Lin Sun finally understood and said, "If this is the case, for us, the next few years will be the best time to take revenge." There was a hint of excitement in his voice. Zhong Qiu shook his head and said, "Junior brother, don't underestimate the eternal God clan. They have survived through the changes of many eras, so you can imagine how terrifying their foundation is." After a pause, he continued, In the past, every time the era calamity descended, the Eternal God clan would choose one or several Eternal Realm existences to stay behind. These Eternal Realm existences are ready to die for the sake of defending their clan. They don't even care about their lives, so naturally, they don't care about the threat of the Great Silence lifeless tribulation. More updates. Tomorrow, Goldfish would publish the complete list of the 12 Eternal God clans on the WeChat public account. For those who didn't follow the Goldfish public account, just open the Add Followers button and wait for the article on the public account at 10 a.m. tomorrow. When The Chosen was finished, Goldfish would also publish the external chapters of The Chosen on the public account. Chapter 3044. Zhong Qiu's words made Lin Sun realize that it was too early for him to be happy. In the next few years, the appearance of the Great Silence lifeless retribution would threaten any Eternal Realm existence in the world. But if they wanted to take this opportunity to deal with forces like the Eternal God clan, they would still face great danger. Because before the arrival of the Era Calamity, the Eternal God clan would choose some Eternal Realm existences to stay behind as death warriors to protect the clan. I'm not in a hurry. Lin Sun thought, there are still about 1,000 years before the arrival of the Era Calamity. As those Eternal Realm existences leave one by one, even if there are Eternal Realm existences in the Witch Cult, Zen Sect, and the Eternal God clan in the Ninth Heaven, the number is extremely limited. After a pause, he continued, "What's more, I am now in existence in the Transcendent Realm Great Perfection. Before the arrival of the Era Calamity, I will definitely try my best to reach the Eternal Realm. By then." A chill appeared in the depths of his eyes. Before he finished speaking, Zhong Qiu already understood Lin Sun's intention and nodded. Yes, in the next few years, it is indeed the best time to take revenge. But we can't rush it. We should take it step by step and plan slowly. At this time, there was a sound of breaking air in the distance. Xian Feiling, Du Guyong, Fang Daoping, and other deputy pavilion masters teleported over. Du Guyong and the others had obviously learned about everything that happened in the Infinite Star Sea from Xian Feiling, and their expressions were filled with joy and excitement. When they saw Zhong Qiu, they all saluted and thanked him. They all knew that it was the arrival of Zhong Qiu and Golden Cicada that disintegrated and destroyed the enemy's murderous attack, and they were extremely grateful. Zhong Qiu smiled and nodded, greeting them one by one. This time, the Witch Cult and Zen Sect suffered heavy casualties. They are destined to be unable to attack us in a short period of time. As for the Eternal God clan in the Ninth Heaven, they may be extremely unwilling to accept such a big loss, but as long as Pavilion Master Yu Beihai survives the calamity, they will never have the chance to attack our sect again. Fang Daoping said excitedly. After Yu Beihai survives the calamity, the God-level order covering the Yuan sect would recover. By then, even the Eternal Realm original body would not be able to shake the Yuan sect's foundation. Du Guyong's killing intent surged as he said, "We absolutely can't let today's matter go like this. Once the situation has calmed down, it's time to take revenge and wipe out this hatred." This time, the witchcraft religion, Zen religion, and the eternal gods of the Ninth Heaven almost destroyed their Yuan sect. How could they not take revenge for such a deep hatred? There are also the 10 immortal giants of the Eighth Heaven. It's time to deal with them thoroughly. Yuan Wutian's eyes flashed with a cold light. Xian Feiling said, "These debts naturally have to be settled one by one, but the most important thing now is to stabilize the situation. Furthermore, the ancestral court of the Spirit Church has paid a huge price to help the sect this time. We can't forget such a great favor." Everyone nodded. This time, the Spirit sect had mobilized the power of its founder, Su Yin's Dharma idol, as well as 2 eternal realm existences, Dong Li and Zhijing, to help. This kindness must be repaid. Something's wrong. Suddenly, Zhong Qiu, who had been watching Yu Beihai prove his Tao, frowned. At practically the exact same moment his voice resounded, a world-shaking rumble suddenly resounded. Under the sky, Yu Beihai's figure quietly shattered, and even his primordial spirit was severely injured. Is he going to fail the tribulation? Damn it, how could this be? Old Yu has been preparing for this for countless years. Everyone's heart couldn't help but hang in suspense, and their expressions changed drastically. Seeing that Yu Beihai's primordial spirit was about to be completely shattered, the tribulation light in the depths of the sky suddenly dimmed, and then began to collapse like a tide. In just a few blinks of an eye, the eternal lightning tribulation that filled the sky disappeared completely, and no trace of it could be seen anymore. Only Yu Beihai's severely damaged primordial spirit was still floating. This strange scene caused everyone to look at each other in dismay. Did he succeed in transcending the tribulation, or did he fail? The atmosphere was deathly silent. Under the sky, Yu Beihai's severely injured primordial spirit seemed to be unable to accept all this, staring blankly at the depths of the sky. After a long time, he let out a long, bitter sigh. Leaving my primordial spirit to live in this world, but why didn't you let me be annihilated in the great tribulation? His words were full of endless sorrow and disappointment. Xian Feiling and the others' hearts sank to the bottom. They finally dared to confirm that Yu Beihai failed to prove the eternal way, but he was not obliterated by that catastrophe, and his injured primordial spirit survived. What a pity, Zhongqiu couldn't help sighing. Even if he survived after failing to prove the eternal way, he didn't know how long he would have to wait for the next opportunity. Moreover, such a blow was so great that it was very likely to make a peerless figure depressed. Lin Sun was also stunned. Since he entered the Yuan sect, he had heard that Yu Beihai, the head of Yuan Qing Pavilion, had been practicing in seclusion all year round, preparing for the eternal way. However, he had never expected that Yu Beihai would fail to transcend the eternal tribulation even though he had made such ample preparations. Old Yu, the great way is difficult. It doesn't matter if you fail for a while, but don't give up. Xian Feiling rushed to the void and comforted him. Other old monsters also gathered around and comforted Yu Beihai. Yu Beihai was silent, and his expression was uncertain. After a long time, he squeezed out a smile and said, "Don't worry about me. I just suffered such a blow that I can't accept it for a while. Take these medicinal pills quickly." Xian Feiling and the others took out some natural treasures, all of which could be called peerless healing treasures. But Yu Beihai shook his head and refused. "I don't lack these. The failure of this tribulation is an unforgettable lesson for me. I should taste the failure and understand its meaning." Well said. Zhongqiu came over. To seek the great way, one should have such courage and state of mind. Only in this way can he go further in the next Tao proving. At this time, Lin Sun thought of something and quickly took out the jade bottle given by Golden Cicada and handed it to Yu Beihai. "This was left by Senior Golden Cicada, and he specially told me to give it to you." Yu Beihai was stunned. "Golden Cicada?" Xian Feiling quickly explained it to him, and Yu Beihai finally understood. He picked up the jade bottle and explored it with his divine sense. Just a moment later, his whole body trembled, and his expression was sometimes surprised, sometimes confused, sometimes shocked, and sometimes unbelievable. This made Xian Feiling and the others look at each other. "What's in that jade bottle?" Xian Feiling asked Lin Sun. Lin Sun shook his head. He didn't know either. After a long time, Yu Beihai suddenly cupped his hands to Lin Sun and said, "Thank you, my young friend." His expression had become calm, as if all the shadows in his heart had been swept away, and he felt unprecedentedly relaxed. Lin Sun hurriedly said, "Senior, don't be so polite. This is a gift from Senior Golden Cicada. I dare not take credit for it." Xian Feiling couldn't help asking, "Old Yu, what's in this jade bottle?" Yu Beihai said with a smile, "For me, it's no less than the grace of rebirth. Maybe I can return to the eternal way with the help of the thing in the bottle. Everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air when they heard this. What kind of treasure was this to have such a heaven-defying effect? Senior Golden Cicada said that we can't reveal any information about this thing. Yu Beihai explained, so you don't have to guess. After a pause, he continued, in addition, when my injury recovers, I will leave the sect and go to Kunlun ruins. This decision was very sudden, and everyone didn't expect it. Xian Failing pondered for a moment and said, since you've made your decision, we won't persuade you any further. The others nodded. Thank you, everyone. Yu Beihai cupped his fists and bowed seriously. If you really want to thank me, take out your treasured wine to entertain us. Xian Failing laughed loudly. Why not? Yu Beihai laughed as well. Lin Sun was quite happy when he saw this. He could tell that the jade bottle given by Golden Cicada had most likely given Yu Beihai a new hope of achieving the Tao. Before we drink, there are some things that we have to arrange, Xian Failing said. Too many things had happened on this day. Yu Beihai achieved the Eternal Way and triggered an unprecedented calamity. Following that, the Witchcraft sect, the Zen sect, and the Ninth Heaven attacked, causing a shocking massacre in the Infinite Star Sea. Until now, everything had finally come to an end. As Yanji, Tai Xian, and the rest left for Kunlun ruins, the Yuan sect had many things to do. On the same day, the power of the Yuan sect's God-level order recovered and enveloped the sky above the Infinite Star Sea and the Yuan realm again. Everyone in the Yuan sect who was placed in the Tian Yuan mystic realm was brought out by Xian Failing and the rest and returned to various parts of the sect. Very quickly, everyone in the Yuan sect found out about what had happened today, and it caused an uproar and commotion. 3 days later, in front of the Yuan realm's central hall, everyone in the Yuan sect was summoned. Yu Beihai, the Origin Clear Pavilion Master who had not appeared for many years, publicly announced his resignation from the position of Origin Clear Pavilion Master, and Lin Sun, the Vice Pavilion Master of Origin Clear Pavilion, would take over. At the same time, Yu Beihai announced that Xian Failing would take over the position of Origin Clear Pavilion Master. Dugu Yong would take over the position of Origin Void Pavilion Master. The vacant Deputy Pavilion Head positions of Lin Sun, Xian Failing, and Dugu Yong were taken over by 3 elders of the 3 pavilions with Transcendent Realm Great Perfection cultivation. Finally, Yu Beihai looked at Lin Sun and laughed loudly. Congratulations, Pavilion Master Lin. Congratulations, Pavilion Master Lin. Congratulations, Pavilion Master Lin. Congratulatory voices rose and fell, shaking the 9 heavens. Whether it was the elders of the Yuan sect or the disciples of the 9 peaks, they were all extremely excited. Their hearts were filled with shock and admiration. 100 years ago, Lin Sun had just joined the Yuan sect and become the successor of the 9th peak. 100 years later, he had taken over the position of Origin Clear Pavilion Master under the watchful eyes of everyone. All of this was like a miracle, breaking the record of the Yuan sect. Whether it was in the past or in the future, this record would probably never be surpassed again. This was a true legend. Moreover, this legend was destined to continue in the years to come. A little later, Chapter 3045. The Yuan Qing Pavilion Master was in charge of the selection and appointment of the sect. In the Yuan Qing Pavilion, the 3 deputy pavilion masters Fang Daoping, Yu Xing, and Zhang Qianxi, as well as a group of elders, deacons and deputy deacons, were all under the command of the pavilion master. As the pavilion master, he had become an existence second only to the sect master in Yuan sect. His status was high, his power was great, and the cultivation resources he could use were far from comparable to others. But at the same time, the greater the power he had, the greater the responsibility he had to bear. Today, Yuan sect no longer had an eternal realm expert. Among the transcendent realm Great Perfection, Lin Sun's combat power was undoubtedly the strongest. In a sense, from this day on, Lin Sun had become the youngest and most influential pavilion master in Yuan sect. On the same day, Yuan sect held a banquet to celebrate the three new pavilion masters Lin Sun, Xian Feiling, and Du Guyong. Late at night, Lin Sun, who returned to the cave residence from the banquet, sat down with his second senior brother Zhong Qiu and had a long talk. At present, the Witch sect and Zen sect have suffered heavy casualties. The Ninth Heaven's Eternal God clan will no longer be able to intervene in the mortal world's affairs in a short time. I have already sent a message to junior sister Ruosu of the Spirit sect. 3 days later, we will set off for the Taiyu realm together to rescue the eldest senior brother and the others. Zhong Qiu told Lin Sun his decision. Lin Sun was shocked and said without hesitation, "I will go with you." Zhong Qiu smiled and shook his head. "If you go, it will cause a lot of variables. If you are targeted by those enemies again, it will be bad." Lin Sun frowned. "With my current combat power, unless the Eternal Realm True Body takes action, I am afraid that no one can do anything to me. Under such circumstances, there is no need to be afraid of anything." Zhong Qiu said with a serious expression, "Junior brother, I am not advising you to stay in Yuan sect, but I have other arrangements for you." Lin Sun breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Senior brother, please instruct me. As long as I can help, I will do anything." Zhong Qiu sighed. A long time ago, the power of the Zen sect gathered the top 10 immortal giants of the 8th heaven and stationed them outside the Taiyu True Star, so that over the years, the senior brother and the others have been trapped inside, unable to escape. But the current situation is different since a long time ago. When we attacked the Origin sect a few days ago, the forces sent by the Zen sect were completely annihilated. Now, the Zen sect has suffered a great loss, and its foundation has become unstable. Hearing this, Lin Sun nodded secretly. In the battle that took place in the Infinite Star Sea, the Zen sect's 24 transcendent realm great perfection existences, 36 transcendent late realm experts, and more than 10 eternal realm willpower Dharma Laksana were all annihilated. Apart from that, the will of the Zen sect's patriarch, Shi, as well as the past Buddha Jiaxu and the future Buddha Jiajin, were forcefully brought to the Kunlun ruins by the Golden Cicada. It could be said that after this battle, almost all the higher-ups of the Dhyana sect had died. After all, the Zen sect only had a total of 32 transcendent realm great perfection existences. The loss of 24 of them at once was a huge blow. As for the eternal realm existences, there were only 3 in the entire Zen sect. They were the past Buddha Jiaxu, the present Buddha Jianan, and the future Buddha Jiajin. As for the past Buddha and the future Buddha, they had already been brought to the Kunlun ruins, leaving only the present Buddha Jianan in charge. As a result, the foundation of the Zen sect was greatly affected. It was the same for the Witch sect. The foundation of the Zen sect is in turmoil, and they can't even take care of themselves. The top forces possessed by the top 10 immortal giants have long been scattered by you, junior brother. Under such circumstances, how can the enemies stationed outside the Taiyu True Star pose any threat? Zhong Qiu said, "In fact, we don't even need to make a move. Just the methods of the senior brother and the others can sweep them away." Of course, the senior brother and the others might not even know that the outside world has already undergone earth-shattering changes, so it's very likely that they're still hiding in the Taiyu True Star. Lin Sun could not help but nod. That was true. Zhong Qiu smiled and said, "So, this time, I will go to the Taiyu True Star with third junior sister and the others. As for you, junior brother, you might as well go to the 8th heaven." "The 8th heaven?" Lin Sun raised his eyebrows. "Yes, the eternal gods in the 9th heaven can't even take care of themselves. How can they care about the life and death of those watchdogs? This is the best time to beat them down." Zhong Qiu thought for a moment. "However, junior brother, this time, you should mainly probe and see if the eternal gods of the 9th heaven will participate in the current situation. If the 10 immortal giants are in danger, will the eternal gods join in? Lin Sun readily agreed. For the current him, there was no need to worry too much about killing his way to the 8th heaven. You must be careful. If some old immortal of the eternal god race suddenly attacks, you must retreat immediately and leave the 8th heaven immediately. Zhong Qiu warned. He was worried that Lin Sun would cause too much trouble in the 8th heaven in order to take revenge and be targeted by the eternal gods again. Senior brother, don't worry, I only need to send 5 avatars to deal with the 10 immortal giants. Speaking of this, Lin Sun couldn't help but say, Senior brother, why don't you let my main body go to the Tai Yu True Star with you? I haven't seen senior brother and the others for a long time, and I really miss them. Zhong Qiu's eyes were complicated. If 9th junior brother is still alive and sees that the Great Path Golden Court scripture, created by him, has been perfected by you to such an extent, he will be very pleased. Thinking of Guyupu, Lin Sun couldn't help but feel sad. The Great Path Golden Court scripture was taught by senior brother Guyupu, and the cultivation of the 5 Tao bodies contained in it is only limited to the Emperor realm. It can be said that this Tao scripture was laid by senior brother Guyupu, and what he has done over the years is to constantly improve this Tao scripture and integrate it into his own cultivation. Senior brother Guyupu, did he really die without leaving any traces? Lin Sun couldn't help but ask. Zhong Qiu was taken aback. He pondered for a moment before saying, that's not necessarily true. Perhaps Master still has some things that 9th junior brother left behind. Lin Sun said, no, I'm talking about the traces related to Guyupu himself, such as his body, spirit, or even hair. Zhong Qiu was puzzled. Why are you asking about this? Lin Sun took a deep breath and told how he saved his disciple Tang Jiang. If the 9th senior brother also left a trace of vitality, maybe I can find a way to bring him back to life. Even Zhong Qiu was stunned as waves of shock surged in his heart. Only then did he finally understand that nirvana, the core secret of order, was actually so heaven-defying. It could bring the dead back to life and defy the heavens to change one's fate. This was already no different than a forbidden ability. After that, anticipation couldn't help but surge within Zhong Qiu's heart, and he said, Junior brother, I'll help you ask about this. Besides 9th junior brother, there are some other junior brothers and junior sisters that suffered misfortune on the ancient path, and they ought to have left behind some things. Perhaps you'll be able to find something useful to you from those things. Lin Sun said, Okay, thank you for your help. You can't mention this to anyone else. Zhong Qiu looked solemn. This level of nirvana? The power was simply amazing. Once it was leaked, it would be a disaster rather than a blessing for Lin. Considering how the eternal gods had survived for so many eras, there had to be quite a few terrifying ancestors who had perished. Once they knew the nirvana of Lin Sun, this power could bring these terrifying existences that had perished in the river of time back to life. They would probably fight for it crazily at all costs. Lin Sun nodded and said helplessly, Senior brother, I'm asking you if you agree to let me go with you. Why do you change the subject again? Zhong Qiu laughed heartily and patted Lin Sun on the shoulder, saying, Now that the Yuan sect has no eternal realm experts in charge, and you have just become the Yuanqing Pavilion Master, you are needed to hold the fort at this time. How can you leave without permission for the matter of Fangtsuan Mountain? After a pause, he said seriously, Over the past 100 years, the Yuan sect has given you the greatest protection, so that you have the opportunity to make continuous breakthroughs and transformations, and you have today's achievements. Fangtsuan Mountain owes the Yuan sect a great favor, and we have to pay it back. Now is a troubled time, and no one can guarantee that the Yuan sect will really be at peace. But no matter what, as long as you are here, even if something unexpected happens, you can solve it as soon as possible. After hearing this, Lin Sun was silent for a while. Thinking about it, Yuan sect had been like a towering tree, sheltering him from wind and rain over the years, so that he could avoid many threats and attacks from enemies. Even because of his existence, Yuan's sect had suffered a lot. Now, Yuan's sect had just survived that terrible disaster. The situation seemed to be stable, but who could guarantee that there would be no disaster in the future? As Zhong Qiu said, there was no one in the eternal realm in Yuan's sect now, so someone had to hold the fort, and in the whole Yuan sect, only Lin Sun had the strongest combat power, and he was already the Yuanqing Pavilion Master, so he had to bear such a heavy responsibility. Okay, I'll follow your arrangement, senior brother. Lin Sun made a decision. Zhong Qiu said, "Don't worry, junior brother. Nothing will happen during our trip to the cosmic true realm. If nothing unexpected happens, we'll be able to return very soon. At that time, all of us will be able to reunite." Lin Sun took out a jade talisman imprinted with the will left by Kong Ju and handed it to Zhong Qiu. "Senior brother, take this thing." Zhong Qiu was stunned, but he didn't refuse in the end. He could see that if he didn't take it, Lin Sun wouldn't be at ease with their operation. 3 days later, Zhong Qiu said goodbye and left Yuan's sect. On the same day, he met up with Ruosu and others who had left the spirit sect and went to the Taiyu True realm together. On the second day after Zhong Qiu left, Lin Sun found the 2 pavilion masters, Xian Feiling and Duguyong, and told them about his plan to send the Great Path clone to the 8th heaven. Knowing that Lin Sun's original body would stay in Yuan's sect, Xian Feiling and Duguyong agreed with him. Otherwise, they would never have allowed Lin Sun to take the risk of going to the 8th heaven alone. After all, there was a path to the 9th heaven, and although the 10 immortal giants weren't much of a threat, they had the support of the Eternal God Clan, so it was easy for them to be targeted by the Eternal God Clan. But if he sent the Great Path clone, there would be no problem. I will continue to update tonight, but it will be very late, probably before 11:30 p.m. Chapter 3046. On the same day, Lin Sun's 5 Tao bodies moved together and left the Yuan realm. His main body stayed behind to guard the Yuan sect. In fact, there was nothing much to do. In addition to cultivating, Lin Sun's main body stepped up the time to refine the Nirvana order. Now, only 20% of the Nirvana order had not been refined. But this 20% power was also the core key of the Nirvana order. Lin Sun had a strong hunch that when he completely refined the Nirvana order, his own immortal law was destined to achieve a new transformation. 7th Heaven, Central Main Domain. Sky-bearing City. In the streets, in the tea-houses and restaurants, people were discussing the battle against the Yuan sect that happened a few days ago. Who would have imagined that the Witchcraft, Zen sect, and the 9th Heaven's Eternal God Clan were defeated by the Yuan sect? Many similar sighs sounded. Now, all kinds of news about that battle had spread in the 7th Heaven, setting off an unprecedented sensation. The world was shocked. It is said that the Witchcraft and Zen sect suffered heavy casualties. Just the loss of hundreds of Transcendent Realm experts. Moreover, they were all killed by Lin Sun, the Deputy Pavilion Master of the Yuan sect. Isn't Senior Lin Sun's combat power too terrifying? This is nothing. According to reliable sources, even some Eternal Realm existences of the 9th Heaven fell in front of the Yuan sect. So, the Yuan sect became the final big winner? When Lin Sun's green wood Tao body walked into Sky-bearing City, he saw such a scene. People were discussing the battle everywhere. Of course, most of those discussions were speculations, and even exaggerated. In this regard, Lin Sun's green wood Tao body laughed it off and didn't bother to pay attention to it. He came to Sky-bearing City for only one thing: to go to the 8th heaven through an ancient domain array in the city. In the 7th heaven, there were a total of 108 ancient domain arrays leading to the 8th heaven, just like the passage between the 7th and 8th heaven. They had been controlled by the major immortal emperor clans since ancient times. For example, The ancient domain array in Sky-bearing City was controlled by the immortal Emperor clan, Tantai clan. The reason why Lin Sun came here was not on a whim. But when he looked up information about the ancient domain array, he saw that the immortal Emperor clan was controlling the ancient domain array of Sky-bearing City was Tantai clan. The reason was simple. When Lin Sun entered the first immortal pass in the vast thousand battle territory, he made friends with a man named Tantai Feng and drank together. Tantai Feng even helped him resolve a chase from Wen Xiaoheng and other opponents. Although he and Tantai Feng couldn't be said to be true friends, they had met once after all. Now that he planned to go to the 8th heaven, Lin Sun was naturally happy to set off from this ancient domain array controlled by Tantai Shi. If he was fated, he might be able to see Tantai Feng again. Lin Sun clearly remembered that the Tantai family located in the 7th heaven was established by Tantai Feng's grandfather, Tantai Chongkong. Tantai Chong Feng had great willpower, spending tens of thousands of years to subdue a heavenly order energy. Back then, in order to obtain this heavenly order energy, he even fought against 8 undying beings. From the time the Tantai clan took root in the 7th heaven to the present, it has only been more than 3,000 years. Now, it has become a first-class force in the 7th heaven. It's conceivable how powerful Tantai Chongfeng is. For someone who can cross the vast thousand battle territories and take root in the eternal true world, to be able to single-handedly create an immortal Emperor clan expert, Lin Sun could not help but admire him. Today, Lin Sun knew better than anyone that as an outsider, it was not easy to create such a foundation in the 7th heaven. While thinking, Lin Sun walked towards the center of the city. The ancient domain array was located in the center of the city. As soon as he entered the city, it was found by Lin Sun's spiritual awareness. "I'm afraid the Tantai clan is finished." Suddenly, Lin Sun's spiritual awareness captured a voice. This voice came from a private room of a restaurant near the street. Although it was extremely low, Lin Sun could still clearly sense it with his current cultivation. Lin Sun stopped immediately. In his spiritual awareness, he clearly saw 2 cultivators sitting in the private room, drinking and talking. One of the black-robed old men said nervously, "Don't talk nonsense, be careful not to be heard by others. Don't worry, now everyone in the Tantai clan is in danger. How can they have the mood to talk to us?" A gray-robed man on the opposite side smiled disapprovingly. The black-robed old man calmed his mind and asked, "What do you mean?" The gray-robed man said, "In the early years, the 10-clan battle alliance was established. In the 7th heaven, the Tantai clan was the first force to choose to attach to the Zhu clan. If not, with the foundation of the Tantai clan, how could it be possible to take over the ancient domain array in the city so smoothly? You must know that any cultivator who wants to use the ancient domain array to go to the 8th heaven has to pay a huge amount of wealth. And since taking over this ancient domain array, the wealth has been enjoyed by the Tantai clan alone." The black-robed old man frowned. "Is it because of this that the Tantai clan has attracted the coveting of other forces and they want to attack the Tantai clan?" The gray-robed man shook his head. "Wrong, with the support of the Zhu clan, who dares to harm the Tantai clan? Then why did you say that the Tantai clan is finished before? Don't you understand?" The gray-robed man pointed out. "A few years ago, the power of the 10-clan battle alliance was destroyed by Yuan sect deputy pavilion master Lin Sun. Under such a blow, the strength of the 10 immortal giants has been greatly damaged, and they can't even take care of themselves. If that's all, it's fine. But now, even the forces of the witch cult, Zen cult, and the 9th heaven have been defeated in front of the Yuan sect. In this way, isn't the Tantai clan in danger?" Hearing this, the black-robed old man suddenly understood and said, "You mean, the Tantai clan will suffer from the Yuan sect's punishment?" The gray-robed man nodded. "Not only the Tantai clan, but the forces that chose to attach to the 10 immortal giants in the past. I'm afraid they have to be prepared to be cleaned up by the Yuan sect. The black-robed old man took a deep breath. If this is the case, won't the immortal imperial clans in the seventh heaven be in danger? The gray-robed man shook his head and said, You can't say that. With the foundation and prestige of the Yuan sect, how can they carry out a comprehensive purge of the immortal imperial clans in the seventh heaven just for this reason? In my opinion, those forces that were forced to choose to attach to the 10 immortal giants should not be the target of the Yuan sect's punishment. On the contrary, forces like the Tantai clan, who took the initiative to attach to the 10 immortal giants from the beginning, will suffer the Yuan sect's revenge. Speaking of this, the gray-robed man concluded, This is called standing on the wrong side. When the Yuan sect comes back to their senses, they will definitely make an example of them and let the world see what it means to be the accomplice of a tiger. The black-robed old man couldn't help but show a look of admiration. Tao brother is wise. This old man admires you. The gray-robed man said, It's a pity that I originally admired the patriarch of the Tantai clan, Tantai Chongfeng. This person is full of courage and has great means. But I made a wrong choice in the past. If my guess is right, the other immortal imperial clans may also be able to see the predicament of the Tantai clan. It is very likely that they are already sharpening their knives, waiting for the Tantai clan to suffer a disaster so that they can divide up the territory and forces left by her. Hearing this, Lin Sun didn't listen anymore. He withdrew his divine sense and continued to move forward, but his brows were slightly wrinkled. When the 10-clan war alliance was established, it was announced to the world that it was to deal with Lin Sun. But under such circumstances, the Tantai clan actually took the initiative to attach to the Zhu clan, which made Lin Sun feel quite disappointed. Originally, he was still looking forward to reuniting with Tantai Feng if there was fate. Now it seemed that it was better not to meet. If the Tantai clan was forced to choose to attach to the Zhu clan, Lin Sun would still be very understanding. But the Tantai clan took the initiative and attached to the Zhu clan immediately, which made Lin Sun feel a little uncomfortable. Soon, the ancient domain array in the center of the city appeared in Lin Sun's vision. He shook his head and no longer thought about it. However, when he was about to walk into the ancient domain array, he suddenly noticed that something was wrong. At this moment, from today onwards, Sky-bearing City and this ancient domain array will be controlled by my Tong clan. A cold voice sounded in the field. Immediately after, groups of cultivators rushed out of the nearby streets, like a tide, and killed the guards stationed near the transmission ancient domain array. Oh no, the enemy is attacking. Ask for help. Those guards shouted in shock and anger, but in just a moment, they were completely killed by the Tong clan's experts from the Immortal Emperor clan, and blood flowed on the ground. On the Tong clan side, a powerful silver-robed man with hair as black as ink stood with his hands behind his back, and said in a deep voice, "Irrelevant people, retreat quickly." His voice was like thunder. Go quickly. Run, run quickly. In the nearby streets, there were panicked screams, and many pedestrians were frightened and fled into the distance. It was chaos. Lin Sun frowned. He didn't expect that before he went to settle accounts with the Tantai clan, it was very likely that the Tantai clan would be in trouble. Even the ancient domain array had been seized in broad daylight, and it was obvious how terrible the Tantai clan's current situation was. If he didn't know what the Tantai clan had done all those years ago, Lin Sun might have lent a hand, but now, he wasn't willing to interfere. Fortune and misfortune depended on each other, and they only had themselves to blame. Suddenly, a Tong clan expert rushed over from afar, pointed at Lin Sun, and berated, "What are you still standing there for? Didn't you hear what my lord said? Get lost." Lin Sun looked around, and only then did he notice that besides the hundreds of Tong clan experts in the vicinity of the transmission ancient domain array, he was the only one left. "Bastard, you're really tired of living." Seeing that Lin Sun was indifferent, the Tong clan expert instantly cursed impatiently, and he swung his palm towards Lin Sun from afar. Bang! The palm force surged. But before it could get close to Lin Sun, it vanished without a trace. The Tong clan expert was stunned. Right at this moment, Lin Sun said indifferently, "Death is not to be regretted." Bang! The Tong clan expert's body exploded into ashes, and he vanished without a trace. It was simply like he'd erased all traces from the world. In the distance, the powerful silver-robed man and the other Tong clan experts were shocked. More updates. Chapter 3047. In the seventh heaven, the Tong clan of the Immortal Emperor was also a first-class force, and there were many Nirvana Realm elders in the clan. Although their prestige was not as strong as that of the 4 East Imperial clans, they could still be called an overlord. At this moment, seeing their companion die in front of Lin Sun, the experts of the Tong clan couldn't help but show anger and a trace of surprise. Under such circumstances, he dared to kill one of their clansmen without hesitation. There were only 2 possibilities. The other party either had a powerful background, or he had extremely powerful combat power. "I'm Tong Chin-Siu, may I ask for your name?" The eyes of the silver-robed man flashed as he spoke in a deep voice. He couldn't see through Lin Sun's cultivation, so out of caution, he decided to test Lin Sun's strength first. Lin Sun saw through the other's thoughts at a glance, and couldn't help but feel a little dispirited. He had seen and experienced too many such things, and was too lazy to pay attention to them. He said directly, "I'm not interested in what you're doing here. If you don't want to die, you'd better get out of the way now." With that, he stepped towards the teleportation array in the distance. The silver-robed man who called himself Tong Qianxiu's face suddenly became ugly. Today, the power of the Tong clan had penetrated every corner of Sky-bearing City, but even under such circumstances, there was still someone who threatened them like this. This made Tong Qianxiu feel quite uncomfortable. Looking at the other Tong clansmen present, their expressions were also much gloomier, and their eyes were surging with killing intent. It could be said that if Lin Sun hadn't shown such a strong attitude before, how could they have been polite? They would have already rushed up and torn Lin Sun into pieces. "Do you plan to go to the 8th heaven from this teleportation array?" Tong Qianxiu seemed to have seen something, and his eyes surged with killing intent. Lin Sun ignored him. "Stop! If you dare to move forward, don't blame us for being impolite." Seeing that Lin Sun was gradually approaching, the experts around the ancient domain formation were a little restless, threatening him sternly. Lin Sun frowned and waved his sleeve. Boom! The experts of the Tong clan in front of the ancient domain array, regardless of their cultivation level, were suddenly swept away by a hurricane. When they fell to the ground, some were seriously injured and unconscious, while others were bleeding from their 7 orifices and screamed miserably. This scene shocked the other Tong clan experts present and made them shiver all over. So powerful! Tong Qianxiu's expression changed completely. He sensed that something was amiss and immediately crushed a jade talisman. After doing this, he felt a little relieved and said, "Fellow Taoist, the array disk used to open this ancient domain array has been taken away by my clan. If you want to use this array to go to the 8th heaven, why don't you wait for a while?" As he spoke, he waved his hand and had the nearby experts of the Tong clan retreat. Tong Qianxiu had already realized that it was impossible for them to be Lin Sun's opponents with their current strength. Lin Sun looked at the ancient formation for a moment and said, "Who has the formation plate?" With his abilities, he didn't have to use an array disk to open this array. However, without an array disk, it would still take some time. Lin Sun didn't want to waste his time on this. Tong Qianxiu said, "That formation disk is in the hands of our clan's 3rd Supreme Elder." It seemed that he gave in, but how could Lin not see that he was stalling for time? Lin Sun turned around with his back to the ancient formation. He looked at Tong Qianxiu and said, "The carrier rune you just released was to ask for help from this person?" Tong Qianxiu's heart was inexplicably depressed. He braced himself and said, "Yes. If you retreat now, you may still have a chance to live, otherwise. Lin Sun smiled and said, I'll leave after I get the formation plate. Tong Qianxu's expression was uncertain. He had seen that Lin Sun didn't care about any threat at all. Boom. Not long after, a group of dazzling escape lights rushed over from a distance. The leader was a white-haired man in a black robe. Before he arrived, his cold and indifferent voice sounded, What happened here? The third Supreme Elder. Tong Qianxu was overjoyed and quickly told what happened just now. Swish. The next moment, the black-robed white-haired man and his party all looked at Lin Sun in unison, and the atmosphere suddenly became extremely depressed. Friend, why are you in such a hurry to go to the eighth heaven? The black-robed white-haired man asked coldly. Lin Sun couldn't help but feel a little helpless. Was he too restrained that anyone dared to question him like this? Is the formation plate in your hands? Lin Sun asked directly. Presumptuous. It's the third Supreme Elder who is asking you a question. You just need to answer. Beside the black-robed white-haired man, a young man in a purple robe shouted. Lin Sun raised his eyebrows and sighed softly. I didn't want to embarrass you, but now it seems that I'm too easy to talk to. Haha, who do you think you are? And the young man in a purple robe laughed as if he had heard a big joke, but before he finished his words, his body turned into ashes with a bang and scattered in the void. The audience was horrified. From the beginning to the end, no one saw how Lin Sun attacked. Young master! A burst of exclamations sounded, and they were all caught off guard by this scene. The black-robed white-haired man was even more furious. His beard and hair flew in the air, and he shouted, How dare you kill my grandson? I won't spare you! Boom! The third Supreme Elder of the Tong clan, who had reached the peak of Nirvana realm, waved his hand and a fierce divine rainbow broke through the sky, overshadowing the world. But Lin Sun didn't even look at it. Lin Sun grabbed in the air, Come here. Bang! That fierce divine rainbow that soared through the sky collapsed inch by inch. Then, the figure of the white-haired man in a black robe rolled in front of Lin Sun like a bug pinched by a big hand, and he was suppressed to the point that he couldn't even raise his head. The audience was silent. All the strong practitioners of the Tong clan nearby were stunned as if struck by lightning. It was just a face-to-face confrontation, but the third Supreme Elder, who was the strongest in their clan, was suppressed like this. This scared them out of their wits and scared them silly. I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please forgive me, Senior. The white-haired man in a black robe shouted in panic and shivered on the ground. Before, he was regarded as the savior of the strong practitioners of the Tong clan, and he came aggressively, but now he was like a panicked dog, begging for mercy. Where is the formation plate? Lin Sun asked. The white-haired man in a black robe quickly took out a bronze formation plate from his arms and handed it to Lin Sun with both hands. Senior, please have a look. Lin Sun took the formation plate in his hand and looked at it for a while. Who do you think is to blame for today's humiliation? The white-haired man in a black robe said in a trembling voice, It's all my fault. Please forgive me, Senior. Don't forgive him. Suddenly, an angry voice sounded not far away. Lin Sun looked up and saw a familiar face. It was Tan Tai Fong. After many years, Tan Tai Fong had also set foot on the immortal road and possessed the cultivation of the early stage of longevity realm. It could be imagined how extraordinary his talent was. But at this moment, his hair was disheveled, his clothes were torn, and he was wounded. His eyes were bloodshot, full of anger and hatred. Tan Tai Fong, you, the remaining evil of the Tan Tai clan, finally show up, Tong Qianxu shouted. But he immediately realized that the situation was not right. The third Supreme Elder was still kneeling on the ground. How could he care about Tan Tai Fong at this time? I didn't expect to see you again at this time. Lin Sun sighed slightly. He felt a little complicated in his heart. He didn't intend to meet Tan Tai Fong at first. Tan Tai Fong knelt down and kowtowed with his forehead. He said in a sad and hoarse voice, "Brother Lin, I made a mistake in the past, but I also paid a heavy price for it. Just last night, the Tantai clan was invaded by the enemy. All the clansmen were slaughtered. Only I was lucky enough to survive." His voice was filled with endless grief, indignation, and bitterness. He took a deep breath and said, "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just hope that for the sake of our friendship in the past, can you help me kill the old bastard kneeling in front of you? He killed all my relatives, and even my innocent daughter was cruelly killed by him." At the end of his words, his voice seemed to be squeezed out of his teeth, and his cheeks were distorted ferociously. All the clansmen of the Tong clan present changed their faces. They never thought that Tantai Fong and Lin Sun were old acquaintances. Lin Sun was silent for a while. He didn't expect that the Tantai clan had already suffered a calamity last night. But it was reasonable to think about it. These strong men of the Tong clan dared to rob the ancient formation in the city so openly. Obviously, they had already known the news that the Tantai clan was in trouble. "Brother Lin, I beg you, I beg you." Tantai Fong kept kowtowing and begging. Bang! In front of Lin Sun, the body of the white-haired man in a black robe, who had been suppressed on the ground, burst into pieces and dissipated into ashes. This scene of death stimulated the other strong men of the Tong clan present to tremble. Run! They realized that something was wrong and wanted to escape at the first time. But as Lin Sun waved his sleeve, their bodies seemed to be incinerated in an instant, turning into ashes scattered in the field. No one survived. When seeing this scene, Tantai Fong, who was kneeling on the ground, couldn't help but be stunned. After a while, he kowtowed excitedly and said, "Thank you, Brother Lin. Thank you." He cried bitterly and was so excited that he lost control of his emotions. Overnight, all his relatives and friends were slaughtered, which made him suffer too much and made his state of mind a little unstable. "I never thought that your Tantai clan would choose to be my enemy in order to cling to the Ten-clan war alliance." Lin Sun looked calm. "To tell the truth, I am not angry, only disappointed. From now on, the friendship between you and me is over." After that, he turned and walked into the transmission ancient formation. Brother Lin, Tantai Fong lost his soul and felt inexplicably sad in his heart. Lin Sun didn't look back. Buzz, with a burst of space ripples, the ancient formation produced a thunderous roar. In the blink of an eye, Lin Sun's tall figure disappeared in the white space. In the distance of the transmission ancient formation, only Tantai Fong knelt there, with disheveled hair and empty eyes. For him, it seemed that he had lost everything overnight. On this day, the news of the destruction of the Tantai clan spread to the sky-bearing city, causing a great uproar. The news quickly spread to other places in the seventh heaven, causing all kinds of discussions. And Lin Sun's 5 Tao forms had successfully arrived in the 8th heaven. Chapter 3048. The 8th heaven. Jiujiang Divine Region. This is one of the divine regions controlled by the Donghuang clan, one of the 10 immortal giants. Swish. The void fluctuated, and Lin Sun's figure appeared out of thin air. Jiujiang Divine Region. I should be able to find some core members of the Donghuang clan from here. Lin Sun's eyes flashed with contemplation. Different from the other heavens, the 8th heaven has an ancient and primitive appearance. There are mountains and rivers everywhere, and no one can be seen. In the 8th heaven, there are a total of 33 divine regions, controlled by the 10 immortal giants. Other than the 10 immortal giants, there are many other forces in the 8th heaven, but almost all of them are vassals of the 10 immortal giants. Lin Sun has been in the 8th heaven for 3 days. The force closest to him is the Donghuang clan, one of the 10 immortal giants. However, because it's his first time entering the 8th heaven, Lin Sun still needs to gather some information. Swish. Lin Sun's figure flickered, heading straight towards the Jiujiang Divine Region. Blood Cloud City. The richest city in the Jiujiang Divine Region. A stronghold belonging to the Donghuang clan was stationed here. At this moment, in an ancient and majestic palace in the center of the city, a group of big shots gathered, looking at a skinny old man with gray hair sitting on the main seat. He is the old antique of the Dongwang clan, Dongwang Cheong. He has been in the Nirvana God realm for tens of thousands of years. Not long ago, he broke through to the transcendent realm. This time, I gathered everyone here because I have an important announcement. Dongwang Cheong spoke. His voice was hoarse and low, filled with supreme majesty. Everyone's heart trembled, and they listened attentively. This seat will return to the clan today, and it's possible that I won't be back for a long time. In the future, the matters of the Zheojiang Divine Region will be handed over to you. Dongwang Cheong made a decision. Everyone was in an uproar, and a look of surprise appeared on their faces. Old ancestor, why? Someone couldn't help but ask. Dongwang Cheong was silent for a moment, then said, Everyone must have heard that the shaman religion and Zen religion, as well as some eternal characters of the ninth heaven, have been killed in front of the Yuan sect, right? Everyone's eyes narrowed and their hearts trembled. The Yuan sect wasn't annihilated. Instead, it miraculously became the final winner. This is something that no one expected. Also, our Dongwang clan has an irreconcilable grudge with the Yuan sect. In such a situation, it's hard to guarantee that we wouldn't be attacked by the Yuan sect. Dongwang Cheong took a deep breath and said with determination, That's why I have to leave. If there's any danger, I can help the clan. The atmosphere was heavy and depressing. Someone couldn't help but ask. If the power of the Yuan sect really comes to the eighth heaven, will the eternal gods of the ninth heaven just sit back and watch? Dongwang Cheong shook his head. Hard to say. In truth, he was well aware that the world was no longer the same as it had been in the past. In the past, the 10 immortal lords had been able to use the name of the eternal gods without fear of the origin sect. But now those eternal gods might not even be able to take care of themselves. The reason was very simple. Under the threat of the Great Silence Fateless Tribulation, even those eternal realm existences felt insecure, so who would have the mood to care about other things? That night, Dongwang Cheong quietly left Blood Cloud City alone. Dongwang Cheong. Just as Dongwang Cheong's figure teleported outside Blood Cloud City, he felt his body become sluggish, and he couldn't move anymore. His figure was instantly forced out of the void. Immediately after, a voice sounded in his ears, causing his expression to change drastically. Who is it? Take me to your clan, and I can spare your life. The voice sounded again, but it was faint, making Dongwang Cheong unable to lock the specific location. This made his heart sink again. His many years of experience allowed him to instantly distinguish that the enemy's strength is at least above his own. May I ask who you are, friend? Can you show yourself? Dongwang Cheong took a deep breath and said slowly, My patience is limited. If you don't agree within 3 breaths, you will bear the consequences. The voice sounded calm and indifferent, then immediately fell into silence. 3 breaths. Dongwang Cheong's pupils suddenly shrank, his hair stood on end, and his hair stood on end. He was shocked and angry to the extreme. I agree. At the moment when the 3 breaths were about to end, Dongwang Cheong almost subconsciously made a decision. Let's go. That voice sounded again. After that, Dongwang Cheong's vision blurred as a tall and handsome figure appeared in front of him. He was clad in moon-white robes, and his eyes were as deep as the abyss. His aura was calm and transcendent. Lin Sun? Dongwang Cheong involuntarily called out. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the fellow who threatened him was actually the traitor whom the Dongwang clan hated to the bone. Don't be surprised, I'm also surprised to see you here. Lin Sun calmly smiled. Thinking back to the time when he and his senior sister Jun Huan went to the Yuan sect for the training, they met Dongwang Cheong, Qi Tingzi, Zhongli Chong, and the other old freaks from the 10 immortal realms. In fact, Jun Huan had even confronted them before. But back then, Lin Sun was only at the Juing Emperor Ancestor realm, while Dongwang Qiong was already at the peak of the Nirvana God realm. Stabilizing his state of mind, Dongwang Qiong calmed himself down. Lin Sun, this isn't the Yuan sect, this is the 8th heaven. Aren't you afraid of trouble? He was too shocked. He didn't expect that Lin Sun would actually appear in the 8th heaven. Furthermore, it was obvious that Lin Sun was planning to take revenge on the Dongwang clan. Trouble? Lin Sun laughed. A few years ago, the combined forces of the 10-clan war alliance were almost annihilated. Now, which one of the 10 immortal realms isn't in a difficult situation? Dongwang Qiong's face darkened. The 8th heaven is connected to the 9th heaven. Even if you don't put us in your eyes, aren't you afraid of the Eternal God Clan's revenge? Don't forget, the one the Eternal God Clan wants to kill the most is you. Lin Sun disapprovingly said, Is that so? Then I'll see if the Eternal God Clan dares to interfere when I destroy your Dongwang clan. Dongwang Qiong's heart sank. Lead the way, Lin Sun said. This old man also wants to see how miserable your death will be. Dongwang Qiong coldly snorted. Swish. The void fluctuated. Dongwang Qiong led the way, while Lin Sun followed behind. To a transcendent realm expert, they could traverse the void in an instant, traversing thousands of mountains and rivers. Dongwang Qiong teleported with Lin Sun for close to 6 hours, traversing countless cities, mountains, and rivers as they headed north. Along the way, Dongwang Qiong was very cooperative, as if he had given up all resistance. After flying for 10 hours, Lin Sun suddenly said, Your Dongwang clan should have already made preparations, right? Dongwang Qiong's expression froze. Vice Pavilion Lord Lin, what do you mean? Lin Sun stopped and stared into Dongwang Qiong's eyes. Why do you think I asked you to lead the way? Dongwang Qiong frowned. Why? Lin Sun said seriously, I want you to tell your clan that I, Lin Sun, am here. Dongwang Qiong was stunned, and then? Lin Sun smiled, and then I want you to make preparations. When I send you on your way, your clan will be able to move together. After saying that, he pondered, It's already been 10 hours. If your Dongwang clan's reaction is faster, you should be able to summon all the major figures back to your clan, right? Dongwang Qiong's mind buzzed as if he was struck by lightning. He finally understood Lin Sun's intention. Lin Sun was actually planning to wipe out his entire clan. In an instant, a chill ran down his spine as his countenance changed. Lin Sun patted his shoulder. Don't worry, every debt has a debtor. I, Lin, have never killed the innocent. I only want to kill the mastermind. As for the innocent members of your clan, I will naturally spare them. You. Dongwang Qiong was both shocked and enraged. Lin Sun stretched out his right hand and grabbed Dongwang Qiong's neck, while his left hand slapped the top of Dongwang Qiong's head. Bang! Dongwang Qiong's head exploded, and his primordial spirit was pulled out by Lin Sun. Bang! Another explosion rang out, and Dongwang Qiong's body was reduced to ashes. Lin Sun stared at Dongwang Qiong's primordial spirit. Dongwang Qiong's primordial spirit was trembling in fear. He didn't expect Lin Sun to act so decisively, directly crippling his body. Before he could react, Lin Sun ruthlessly punched Dongwang Qiong's primordial spirit in the stomach. Pooh! Dongwang Qiong's primordial spirit opened his mouth and spat out a golden bead, which Lin Sun grabbed. After sizing it up, Lin Sun asked, Before this, you used this bead to send a message to your clan, right? The bead surged with an obscure aura of order. When Lin Sun's divine sense entered it, he discovered that there was a mysterious small world within the bead. At the end of the small world, there was a mysterious source of order aura. Clearly, the source of order energy should be located in the territory of the Dongwang clan. Dongwang Qiong borrowed the power of order contained in this pearl to silently communicate with the Dongwang clan, using this method to secretly transmit news to the Dongwang clan. In an instant, Dong Wang Qiong's primordial spirit turned ashen, and he said in a daze, "So? You already knew," Lin Sun said. "Before I came to the 8th heaven, I specially researched the information of your Donghuang clan. I know that the guardian order of your Donghuang clan is a rare heaven-ranked order. Its power is related to the Tao of space." Pausing for a moment, he stared at the golden pearl in his hand and continued, "There's also a record in the information that your Donghuang clan has a secret treasure named Seamless Spirit Pearl. It can transmit messages stealthily. Most probably this should be it." "As expected, you came prepared." Dong Wang Qiong's expression paled. He gritted his teeth and said, "But so what if you know? My clan has already made preparations in advance. Even if you kill your way there, you will die without a doubt." "You are wrong." Lin Sun shook his head. "I just want to take this opportunity to see if your Donghuang clan can invite the great characters of the 9th heaven to help you. This will determine whether I will go to your clan or not." You are so shrewd." Dong Wang Qiong's primordial spirit's eyes widened. Only now did he understand Lin Sun's intentions. "Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated in 100 battles. If you don't know anything, you will only act rashly." Speaking of this, Lin Sun suddenly thought of something. "Oh yes, before you die, I have to correct a mistake of yours." "What mistake?" Dong Wang Qiong asked subconsciously. Lin Sun smiled and said, "I am now the Pavilion Master Yuan Qing. You should have called me Pavilion Master Lin." Dong Wang Qiong was stunned. Bang! In the next moment, his primordial spirit turned into powder in Lin Sun's palm. "Tonight let's take a break." Chapter 3049. Longyue Divine Mountain. The place where the Dong Wang clan resided. It was said that within 100,000 miles of this mountain, it contained the origin Tao veins from the birth of chaos. It was the most blessed land in the 8th heaven. For ordinary cultivators, cultivating here for a day was equivalent to cultivating for 100 days in the outside world. From afar, Lin Sun couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the Longyue Divine Mountain that was shrouded in the night sky. Such a blessed land was comparable to the Yuan realm. If one cultivated here from a young age, even the stupidest person would be able to develop spirituality and wisdom. The night grew darker and darker. Lin Sun casually sat on the ground, took out his wine gourd, and drank alone, waiting quietly. At this moment, the atmosphere in the Longyue Divine Mountain was oppressive. The clan hall was brightly lit. Dong Wang Jiuhui sat on the central seat, his expression flickering under the light. On both sides of the hall, the Dong Wang clan's important figures were waiting anxiously. Very quickly, a tall and thin figure appeared out of thin air in the hall, instantly attracting the attention of everyone present. Dong Wang Jiuhui stood up and said, "Old ancestor, how is it?" The tall and thin figure was dressed in a red robe. He looked like a young man with a pair of narrow and sharp eyes. He was a transcendent realm great perfection existence in the Donghuang clan, called Donghuang Ku. However, his expression was gloomy as he said, "The 9th heaven sent a letter. The Eternal God clan's Yang clan leader has already ordered that no clansmen are allowed to go out 3 days ago." All of a sudden, Dong Wang Jiuhui was stunned, and his heart sank. The Eternal God clan Yang clan was the Donghuang clan's backer, but now the Yang clan no longer cared about their lives. The expressions of the other important figures present changed, and they were all in a daze. How could this be? The dignified Eternal God clan didn't dare to send anyone to deal with Lin Sun? Old ancestor, what's going on? Why did the Eternal God clan Yang clan choose to stand by and watch? Someone asked in confusion. Dong Wang Ku's expression was gloomy. "I can guess the reason. It should be related to the Great Silence lifeless disaster. If I'm not wrong, the Eternal Realm existences in the Yang clan have probably already started preparing to leave the Eternal World and head to the Kunlun ruins. Under such circumstances, they naturally wouldn't care about the survival of our Dongwang clan. The atmosphere in the hall was oppressive to the point it was suffocating. After a short while, Dongwang Jiuhui took a deep breath while a wisp of a resolute expression suffused his eyes. He said, "Everyone, from this moment onward, we'll act according to the plan we discussed earlier." Then, he turned to one person in the hall. "Grand Elder, go contact the other undying giants, tell them, if the lips are gone, the teeth are cold. If we are finished, they won't be able to escape either. If they want to resolve this disaster, they should send all their forces to support us." Yes. Great Elder Dongwang Xiu accepted the order and left. Second Elder, go and gather the transcendent realm figures in the clan. Let them all enter the 9-layer killing array and be on standby. Yes. Third Elder, go and gather everyone in the clan. Place them in the clan's treasure, mountain and country painting. Yes. Fourth Elder, go and control the clan's order power with the 5th and 6th Elders. Yes. Seventh Elder, go to the ancestral altar and pass down the decree. In the name of the Dongwang clan, gather all the forces under our clan's command to support us. Within a day, I want all of them to gather in front of the mountain gate. Yes. Eighth Elder, spread the news to the outside world. Tell them that the Yuan school has invaded the 8th heaven, and that the Deputy Pavilion Master Lin Sun has revealed himself. Lin Sun has appeared. Yes. As orders were passed down one after another, Dongwang Jiuhui's heart calmed down. At this moment, the elders had all left, leaving only him and Dongwang Ku. Dongwang Ku's eyes flickered. "You're planning to gather all the 10 Undying Giants' forces in our clan and fight against Lin Sun?" Dongwang Jiuhui sighed. "Other than this, is there any other way? In the past, our 10-clan battle alliance suffered heavy casualties in the 6th heaven. A group of transcendent realm great perfection experts were slaughtered. Even in the Wang clan, there are only 3 transcendent realm great perfection experts left. The Fu clan only has 1 transcendent realm great perfection expert, Fu Chaolan." After a pause, he continued, "Currently, the 10 Undying Giants don't even have 20 transcendent realm great perfection experts. If they don't gather together, Lin Sun will definitely defeat them one by one. I believe the other Undying Giants will understand this logic." Dongwang Ku frowned and said, "It's just Lin Sun. Is he really that scary?" Dongwang Jiuhui said, "Of course, Lin Sun isn't scary. However, if he brings along the Yuan school's forces, things will be different. What I fear the most is the Yuan school's forces." Dongwang Ku nodded and said, "Currently, the clan still has 2 Eternal Realm avatars. If the clan is in a life-and-death situation, they can be used as a trump card." Dongwang Jiuhui suddenly said, "Previously, the 13th Elder, Elder Dongwang Qiong, sent a message saying that only Lin Sun appeared. If he's really alone, things will be easier. Can we still contact 13th Elder?" asked Dongwang Ku. Dongwang Jiuhui shook his head. "I promise to contact him every 15 minutes. However, 6 hours have already passed. I suspect that he might have already been killed by Lin Sun." Dongwang Ku squinted his eyes and said, "If that's the case, we don't have much time to prepare." Dongwang Jiuhui's eyes flashed with a crazed coldness. "We've already prepared everything. Now let's see how capable he is." Under the same night sky, the number 1 Undying Giant, the Wang clan. Clan leader Wang Zhongtian looked at the news from the Dongwang clan with a gloomy expression. "Two old ancestors, how do you think this matter should be resolved?" After a long time, Wang Zhongtian said in a deep voice. In the main hall, there were only him and the other 2 transcendent realm great perfection elders. One was called Wang Daochuan, and the other was called Wang Fuping. "Clan leader, please make the decision." Wang Daochuan's expression was calm. He had the demeanor of an immortal, wearing a high hat and ancient clothes. After cultivating for countless years, he had already seen through life and death. Wang Fuping pondered deeply for a moment before he said, I feel that Dong Wang Jiuhui is right. The 10 great eternal powerhouses must work together to resist the threat from the Yuan sect. Otherwise, I'm afraid Yuan sect will destroy them one by one. Wang Zhongtian took a deep breath and said, "Not long ago, in the infinite star sea in front of Yuan sect, the 5 eternal realm existences of the 9th heaven never returned. Their whereabouts are unknown, and there's no news from them. Tsang Xiongtu, the old ancestor of the Tsang family, was one of them. Under such circumstances, the Tsang family will no longer send any forces to help us." After a pause he continued, "The other undying giants should be in a similar situation to our Wang family. It's almost impossible for them to get any help from the 9th heaven," Wang Fuping said with a serious expression. "Clan leader, both of us are clear about this. Please give the order." Seeing this, Wang Zhongtian no longer hesitated and said decisively, "Then, please take the clan's treasure Sword of Judgment to the Dong Wang family." Wang Fuping and Wang Daochuan glanced at each other and stood up to accept the order. "Clan leader, I'll leave the clan to you," Wang Fuping said. Wang Zhongtian nodded. "Old ancestor, take the people and go." Zhongli clan's clan leader Zhongli Qing gritted his teeth and said, "Our clan is the closest to the Donghuang family. If the Donghuang family is in trouble, the next one will be us." "Yes." Zhongli Bowen, who had a transcendent realm great perfection cultivation base, turned around and left. The Yuan sect and Zen sect suffered a crushing defeat. The 9th heaven can't even fend for themselves. Now, in the 8th heaven, if our 10 undying giants don't unite, we're destined to be in a state of disunity. Qi clan's clan leader Qi Shuhing's voice was sonorous and powerful. "Old ancestor, I'll have to trouble you to personally lead the forces of our clan." "All right." Qi Liujia slowly got up and left with a calm expression. In this night, in addition to the Wang clan, Zhongli clan, and Qi clan, the Mu clan's clan leader Mu Canghai, the Qi clan's clan leader Qi Luochen, the Jing clan's clan leader Jing Zhuan, the Zhu clan's clan leader Zhu Fatian, and the Zhong clan's clan leader Zhong Jianxia all made the same decision: send people to the Donghuang family. Only the Fu family didn't do so. The reason was simple. In the entire Fu family, only the clan leader Fu Chaolan was left. It was impossible for him to leave. Otherwise, the Fu family would be without a leader. In the Moonlight God Mountain, in front of an ancient teleportation array. Under the night sky, this ancient teleportation array would set off a rain of light every once in a while, followed by a group of figures walking out. These silhouettes were all great figures from other undying realms. The other undying giants also had such an ancient teleportation array. They were interconnected, allowing the other undying giants to teleport over in a short amount of time. Report: Wang family's Supreme Elder Wang Daochuan and Senior Wang Fuping have led a group of experts here. Report: Zhongli family's Supreme Elder Zhongli Bowen. Report: Mu family's Supreme Elder Mu Yongting. Report. One after another, reports resounded outside the Fu family's main hall. It made the clan leader Dong Wang Jiuhui's mood improve again and again. Every time, he would personally welcome the great figures from the other undying giants into the palace, giving them the greatest respect. In the end, apart from the Fu family, the other 9 undying giants gathered together. Such a lineup made Dong Wang Jiuhui's heart calm down, and all his previous worries and anxiety were swept away. At the same time, the Fu family's transcendent realm experts had already gathered and entered the 9-layer killing array. The Fu family's order power was also under the control of the 3 elders, accumulating power and waiting. The news of the vassal forces' reinforcements had also been sent out. Even the news of Lin Sun's appearance in the 8th heaven spread to all parts of the 8th heaven at the fastest speed. Until the night faded and dawn arrived. Seeing the well-prepared scene, Dong Wang Jiuhui couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. He was even looking forward to Lin Sun's appearance. Chapter 30-50. The sky was bright. The ink-like night faded from the sky above Longhui Divine Mountain, and the light of dawn sprinkled between the heavens and the earth. Woo woo woo, the sound of a horn came from a distant place. Immediately afterwards, groups of dazzling streaks of light whistled toward Longwe Divine Mountain from different directions like a meteor shower. Lin Sun, who had been waiting for a whole night, saw this scene and roughly guessed some clues in his heart. It seems that the ninth heaven doesn't intend to send anyone here. Lin Sun picked up the wine gourd and took a sip with a calm demeanor. He wasn't in a hurry to act. The current Dongwang clan was obviously mobilizing all their forces for defense. Lin Sun was looking forward to seeing how many forces the Dongwang clan could mobilize. The groups of cultivators coming from all directions quickly disappeared into the Longwe Divine Mountain. Reporting to the Patriarch, the masters of the 18 forces under our clan have led the Transcendent Realm experts of their respective clans to arrive. There are a total of 31 Transcendent Realm initial experts, 15 Transcendent Realm intermediate experts, and 4 Transcendent Realm late experts. Now, they have all been settled down and are only waiting for the Patriarch's orders. In the clan hall, someone came to report. Dongwang Jihui nodded and said, "Let them rest. Once the battle breaks out, let them cooperate and act together." Yes. The person who reported took the order and left. Fellow Taoist, have you found out how many people the Yuan sect has dispatched this time? In the clan hall, an important figure asked. At this time, in the main hall, the old monsters from the 9 immortal giants gathered. There were 19 Transcendent Realm Great Perfection experts. It's not clear at the moment. Dongwang Jihui said, according to the news transmitted by the 13th elder of our clan before the disaster, Lin Sun seems to be acting alone this time. His words startled everyone present. If it's just Lin Sun alone, the threat isn't too big. We only need to be wary of the eternal realm will in his hands. Wang Daochuan, who was wearing a high hat and ancient clothes, pondered, but we are worried that we will repeat the mistakes in the 6th heaven. Mentioning the fiasco that occurred in the 6th heaven a few years ago, everyone's heart trembled. At that time, Lin Sun also appeared alone. However, the 2 batches of forces sent by the 10 Clans War Alliance had been destroyed one after another. This made them believe that it must have been a big shot from the Yuan sect who had taken action. Otherwise, it was impossible for Lin Sun to achieve this by himself. In fact, not to mention what happened in the 6th heaven, they don't even know the true situation of the great battle that took place in the Myriad Star Sea a few days ago. The reason is that whether it is the forces of the 10-clan battle alliance, the witch religion, the Zen religion, or the 9th heaven, they were almost completely annihilated, and there was no news at all. As a result, they could only speculate about the details of the battle. Most of the time, speculation would deviate from the truth. For example, although these old freaks feared Lin Sun's battle prowess and were aware of the terror of his immortal supreme path, they did not know that Lin Sun could now kill the Dharma idol of an eternal realm expert with his own battle prowess. Therefore, at this moment, when talking about Lin Sun, who appeared in the 8th heaven and was likely to come to the Dongwang clan for revenge, they subconsciously believed that it was impossible for Lin Sun to come alone. It was very likely that he was accompanied by other big shots of the Yuan sect. The top priority is to find out the whereabouts of Lin Sun as soon as possible, as well as the power of the Yuan sect led by him. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles, Wang Fuping said solemnly. Everyone nodded. Dongwang Jihui was silent for a moment, then said, "Last night we lost contact with the 13th elder of our clan. If my speculation is correct, Lin Sun is most likely already here." The hearts of everyone present shook. Immediately, Dongwang Jihui smiled and said, "To tell you the truth, I can't wait for this kid to appear earlier so that we don't have to waste time here." Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Deputy Pavilion Master Lin Sun of the Yuan sect has killed his way to the 8th heaven. Such news began to spread at an astonishing speed in the 8th heaven, causing a sensation in the world. It was unknown how many people were in an uproar. Long Yu Divine Mountain, where the Dongwang clan is located, also suddenly became the focus of the world. That year, the Ten-Clan War Alliance suffered a crushing defeat in the Sixth Heaven. Almost all of them were annihilated. The 10 immortal giants' vitality was greatly damaged, and their foundation was shaken. Under such circumstances, Lin Sun actually killed his way to the 8th heaven. Is he planning to destroy the 10 immortal giants? It's said that this Lin Sun is the descendant of the Lord of Tongtian. One should know that the Lord of Tongtian was besieged by the 10 immortal giants. It's very likely that Lin Sun is here for revenge. He dares to attack the 10 immortal giants alone? Wrong, Lin Sun is a deputy pavilion master of the Yuan sect. If he dares to come to the 8th heaven for revenge, he must have the help of the Yuan sect. The world is really going to be chaotic. A few days ago, the Witch sect and the Zen sect were defeated by the Yuan sect. In less than a month, Lin Sun has killed his way to the 8th heaven. I'm afraid that another bloody storm is going to happen. The world was in turmoil. Lin Sun's appearance attracted the attention of the entire 8th heaven. Many powerhouses rushed to the Long Yu Divine Mountain from different directions, trying to understand the news as soon as possible. Lin Sun. This was the most sensational name in the world in the past 100 years. Especially in recent years, the whole world was covered by his light. He rose at the fastest speed and became a deputy pavilion master of the Yuan sect's ancestral court. He possessed the legendary immortal supreme combat power. He slaughtered a group of peerless figures in the 10 demonic territory. He smashed the encirclement of the 10-clan war alliance in the 6th heaven. Each of these incidents, if any of them happened to someone else, would be enough to shake the world, let alone when it happened to him alone. This is a legend who rose in battle and slaughter, the youngest and most dazzling transcendent realm existence in the world. Now that such a person appeared in the 8th heaven, who wouldn't pay attention to him? Time passed. A few days passed. In the territory near the Long Yu Divine Mountain, countless cultivators heard the news and came over. But to everyone's surprise, Lin Sun didn't appear. Even Dongwang Jiuhui and the others were a little anxious. Lin Sun's appearance caused them to gather all their strength towards the Long Yu Divine Mountain. But as time passed, Lin Sun still didn't appear. This was like knowing that there was a knife hanging above their heads, but they didn't know when it would fall. It was extremely torturous. I think Lin Sun is afraid. The outside world was also discussing. He probably realized that his traces have been exposed. Moreover, the Long Yu Divine Mountain is filled with killing intent. Think about it, how could the Dongwang clan not be prepared? If it was me, I wouldn't dare to come and offend them. That's possible. Many people nodded. It wasn't that they didn't believe in Lin Sun's strength. It was because the Dongwang clan had been in the 8th heaven for countless years. How could such an immortal supreme be shaken so easily? Everyone, it seems like we came here for nothing. Lin Sun obviously realized that the situation isn't right and has already retreated. In a nearby area, an old man shook his head and sighed. Grandfather, is this the legendary peerless figure you were talking about? In my opinion, he's just a coward. A girl curled her lips, feeling disappointed. Don't talk nonsense. Beside the girl, a man berated. Even if Senior Lin Sun didn't come this time, he isn't someone we can slander. The girl was so scared that her entire body trembled. She stammered, but it's really disappointing. I thought he was very powerful. She turned her head and looked to the side. There was a young man sitting there, drinking wine. Hey, what do you think? The girl asked in a crisp voice. From the moment she arrived here, she saw this young man drinking wine. Even when he spoke to her, he was all smiles, as though he didn't have any temper at all. What did I say? The young man was startled. The girl said unhappily, Didn't you also come to watch the battle? That Lin Sun hasn't appeared yet. Aren't you disappointed at all? The young man smiled and stood up. He kept the wine gourd and said, "Little sister, listen to my advice. It's better to leave this place as soon as possible. Battles are never good to watch." As he spoke, he walked straight into the distance. The girl mumbled, "How old are you? You're already lecturing me like an old man." Wait a minute, what are you going to do?" She couldn't help but feel surprised when she saw the young man walking in the direction of Longwe Divine Mountain. She was also worried. That's the territory of the Dongwon clan. If you get so close, you might be chased away. The young man waved his hand without turning his head. "Thank you for the reminder. But the reason I came here this time was to find the Dongwon clan. Now it's about time." The girl frowned. "This fellow is so strange. I wonder what he's talking about." Seeing Lin Sun approaching the Longwe Divine Mountain alone, the girl's grandfather seemed to have realized something. His expression instantly changed. Could it be him? At the same time, in the nearby territories, many gazes also noticed the figure of the young man. They couldn't help but have bewildered expressions. This person couldn't be. Many people who were discussing amongst themselves stopped talking as their attention was drawn by that tall figure. It was truly because the surroundings of Longwe Divine Mountain was empty and silent, and all the spectators had hidden far away. So when that tall figure walked step by step towards Longwe Divine Mountain, he seemed to be so striking. "Grandfather, you recognize that person?" the girl asked with surprise. Right at this moment, within her field of vision, the young man who'd advised her to leave with a smile earlier had suddenly soared into the sky. He placed his hands behind his back as he gazed at the distant Longwe Divine Mountain, and then he spoke indifferently. "Where are the clansmen of the Dongwon clan?" A voice that was like a thunderclap broke the silence of the heavens and the earth and resounded through the 9 heavens. The hearts of all the cultivators in the nearby areas shook. "It really is him. He wouldn't be." The girl's beautiful eyes opened wide while her little face was covered in shock. Lin Sun. I'll continue updating tonight. Chapter 3051. Lin Sun. Near the Longyu Divine Mountain, the atmosphere instantly turned silent. Only Lin Sun's calm voice reverberated throughout the area. Everyone's eyes widened, as if they wanted to see the appearance of this man who had always been like a legend. In reality, it was their first time seeing Lin Sun. In the past, they had only heard of his sensational deeds. Just now, I called him a coward in front of him." The girl was stunned. Her grandfather also broke out in a cold sweat. He covered her mouth. "Lass, if you say anything more, trouble will come from your mouth." Boom! Extremely far away, within the Longyu Divine Mountain, a terrifying Tao fluctuation suddenly surged forth. Countless restraining powers surged forth, and divine radiance shot towards the heavens. There was also the power of order spreading out, covering the sky. It was as if an ancient beast that had been slumbering for many years had awakened. "Lin Sun, I have been waiting for you for many days. You're finally here." A deep and majestic voice rumbled through the skies. Immediately after, Dongwon Jiuhui's silhouette flew out from the Longyu Divine Mountain and stood on top of the clouds. Beside him, there were many horrifying auras radiating out. Then, one transcendent realm great perfection old monster after another appeared. There were more than 10 of them. All sorts of divine radiances bloomed from their bodies, rising and falling. Some were filled with sword auras, some were filled with flames, and some were like ghosts in the netherworld. Each of them occupied an area. They were like the sun hanging high up in the sky. Boundless energy was released from within their bodies. Their prowess was like waves, sweeping towards the surroundings and shaking the heavens and earth. Within this small area, including Dongwon Jiuhui, there were a total of 19 transcendent realm great perfection existences gathered. How terrifying was that? Rumble. Although the old monsters had retracted their prowess, traces of formless prowess leaked out, causing the mountains to crack and the void to crumble. They were the embodiment of the laws themselves. Countless immortal laws filled up the space, causing the entire area to distort. Even the space shattered into huge cracks, and an endless spatial storm blew out from within. Those are the transcendent realm great perfection existences that belong to the 10 immortal giants. Shocked cries resounded from the nearby territories. The crowd was in a commotion, all of them had looks of shock on their faces. No one expected that the Dongwang clan would actually mobilize the other undying hegemons to come here to help. Looking at Lin Sun, he was all alone. Comparing the two, everyone could not help but feel worried for Lin. "You are Lin Sun?" Wang Daochuan, who was wearing a high crown and ancient clothes, said indifferently. The energy in the heavens and the earth surged while the laws flowed. Strands of divine flames, light of the Tao, and devilish flames filled the entire heavens and the earth, causing even space to warp. It was the first time for these old fogies to see Lin Sun, so they couldn't help but be surprised to see him standing alone in the void. It's already come to this, so why haven't the people of the Yuan sect shown themselves? Don't you think it's a disgrace to the reputation of the Origin sect's ancestral court? An old monster said coldly. I know what you are worried about. Don't worry, this time only this Lin came to the 8th heaven. Lin Sun's dark eyes were calm and tranquil. He stood in front of the heavens and the earth with his hands behind his back. Facing the monstrous energy fluctuations from the Moon God Mountain, he did not even move a hair. His appearance was handsome, and his temperament was indifferent and otherworldly. It was hard to imagine that this was the legendary figure whose name shook the world and was like the sun in the sky. Only you. Dongwang Jihui and the others narrowed their eyes. They did not expect Lin Sun to be so honest. Only one is enough. Lin Sun said indifferently. He, as expected of the deputy pavilion master of the Yuan sect. Your tone is not ordinary. Someone sneered. If it was really only Lin Sun, so what if he was an immortal supreme? The threat to them was really not that serious. Many old fogies relaxed and shook their heads with a smile. What they were most afraid of was the power of the Yuan sect. Now that Lin Sun was alone, their mentality changed. You are indeed courageous. We are all gathered here, yet you still dare to come out alone. I wonder if you are so confident that you are conceited, or do you really have something to rely on and think that you can defeat all of us together? Wang Daochuan looked at Lin Sun with interest and said in a warm voice. The other old fogies looked at Lin Sun as if they were examining their prey, and there was a faint cold killing intent in their eyes. How dare a mere person come and offend them? What was the difference between this and an ant trying to shake a tree? In the past, the 10-clan battle alliance gathered 50 transcendent realm great perfection experts, but they were all annihilated in the 6th heaven. Now, only you old guys. Don't you think it's a little shameful? Lin Sun's tone was calm, but the meaning in his words was clearly that he did not take the old fogies gathered in the distance seriously. Humph! Arrogant! At that moment, many old fogies were enraged. They no longer restrained their power and spread it. Rumble! In the nearby territory, countless mountains exploded, and the earth collapsed. Many cultivators nearby were shaken to the point of coughing up blood and being seriously injured. For a time, exclamations were heard everywhere. The cultivators scattered in the surrounding territory to watch the battle all retreated in panic and fled to a very far place. Only Lin Sun stood tall, unmoved. His temperament was as calm as before. In front of the terrifying power of the many old fogies, he was completely inconspicuous. However, he was like an immovable rock, unmoved no matter how much the raging waves crashed against him. Lin Sun, if you surrender and hand over the divine order on you, we can spare your life. Otherwise, I'm afraid you will die today, and your soul will scatter," said an old ancestor of the Jing clan. His entire body was shrouded in illusory shadows. His name was Jing Shanhu, and he had a monstrous reputation in the 8th heaven. You want it? Come and snatch it. Lin Sun laughed. At this time, How could he not see that the top forces of the 10 immortal giants had almost all gathered in the Moonlight God Mountain? This also meant that the Eternal God clan in the 9th heaven had no time to care about these watchdogs. Otherwise, why would the Dongwon clan need to ask the other immortal giants for help? And why would the other immortal giants come to help? At the end of the day, they were huddling together for warmth. They were worried that they would be defeated one by one, so they set up such a formation. If the heavens want you dead, they will make you mad. Lin Sun, you shouldn't have come to the 8th heaven alone. Jing Shanhu sighed softly. As his voice fell. Silently, the world where Lin Sun stood was suddenly covered by a shadow, causing all light to be blocked. It was as if the night had swallowed the void. At the same time, figures appeared in the shadow world like ghosts. There were dozens of people, and they attacked Lin Sun from different directions. When each of them appeared, they didn't reveal the slightest fluctuation of aura. Every single figure seemed like a flicker of light as they swiftly arrived before Chen Shi, and they carried out a terrifying and sudden assassination. This scene made the spectators in the distance break out in a cold sweat, and their expressions changed drastically. Lin Sun stood in the shadow, his figure motionless. However, wisps of sword chi whistled out from the immortal laws around him. Puff, 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 puff. With a burst of dense explosions, the dozens of flickering figures were crushed by the sword chi one by one. They were like pieces of paper, and their blood stained the void. Boom! In the end, the shadow that covered the heavens and the earth was blasted apart and dispersed into nothingness. These are the assassins of the hidden space world controlled by your Jing family. They are just a group of transcendent realm initial trash. How dare they try to assassinate me? How ridiculous! Lin Sun said indifferently. He was still indifferent, without a trace of aura. However, he stood in the void, looking around, and glancing at the old antiques in the distance. He was like an ancient god facing the mortal world. He didn't have the slightest fear. Instead, he oppressed the audience, as if he was the king of the 9th heaven. At that moment, the world was dead silent. Everyone's eyes widened and they couldn't believe it. In the blink of an eye, a group of transcendent realm assassins from the hidden space world were wiped out like this. Jing Shanhu witnessed this scene. His face became pale, and his eyes were filled with anger. This was originally a surprise attack that he had carefully prepared. All the top existences of the hidden space world were mobilized, but now they were all dead. So strong. The spectators in the distance had goosebumps all over their bodies, and their scalps were numb. After witnessing Lin Sun's divine prowess with their own eyes, they could truly feel how terrifying that terrifying power was. At this moment, the old antiques were also in awe. Men, activate the 9-layer killing array. Dongwang Jihui yelled. Boom! Hundreds of figures rushed out from the Longyue sacred mountain. Each of them was controlling a bronze Dao pattern war flag, which turned into a terrifying array in the void. The hundreds of experts were almost all transcendent realm initial and intermediate existences. They released their aura, and suddenly, the 9-layer killing array emerged between the heavens and the earth. Each layer killing array was comparable to a large world. Some were blazing with divine flames, some were bone-chilling cold, some had billions of stars emerging, and some were like a demon's domain with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. When the layer killing array appeared between the heavens and the earth, a horrifying aura of slaughter rushed out and spread in all directions. The nearby mountains, rivers, and void collapsed along with it, as if it had completely sunk. This was not the end. When the layer killing array was just formed, many dazzling figures rushed out and rushed into the layer killing array. Those were the transcendent realm figures of the major forces under the Dongwon clan. As they joined in, the aura of the terrifying 9-layer killing array also rose sharply, as if it was going to swallow the heavens and the earth. Kill! In the layer killing array, neat and uniform roars resounded, like thunder in all directions. Boom! The 9-layer killing array was completely activated, as if hundreds of millions of lights were boiling. With an overwhelming momentum, it shrouded Lin Sun. Seeing this scene, Lin Sun clenched his fist and retracted it from the front. His whole body bent into a bow shape. He pulled his fist like a bow. The entire world seemed to be quiet, and even the laws were frozen. With Lin Sun standing as the center, the space in all directions suddenly collapsed, producing an earth-shattering explosion. Then, Lin Sun punched out the condensed fist in the void. More and more. Chapter 3052. Boom. It was as if a sharp light that tore through the ages had appeared in the sky. The fist energy flowed with a dazzling and resplendent light, and it was filled with an indestructible and courageous might. The world was overturned, and everything was pierced by this fist. The Nine Slaughter formation was controlled by hundreds of transcendent realm figures. It was like 9 worlds full of violent, murderous intent descending. However, under this fist, the first layer of the Slaughter formation, which was like a divine flame, directly exploded, bursting into countless flaming rain. More than a dozen transcendent realm figures who were in charge of this Slaughter formation were all torn apart in an instant, and their souls dissipated. Boom. Immediately after, the second layer of the Slaughter formation, which was like a world of ice and snow, also collapsed. Like a broken mirror, countless flying snow and ice splattered. More than a dozen transcendent realm figures who were in charge of it also perished. Boom. 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 They didn't even have the chance to react at all. Explosions that shook the heavens and the earth resounded incessantly while layer after layer of Slaughter formations were destroyed by the peerlessly terrifying force of the punch. Layer after layer exploded into pieces, and it caused the glow of the Tao and divine radiance to cover the sky. There were also screams of terror, angry roars of unwillingness, and streams of scarlet blood that rose into the air. In just a blink of an eye, the Nine Slaughter formation, which was activated by hundreds of transcendent realm powerhouses together, was pierced through by Lin Sun's fist like a piece of paper. What was more terrifying was that, after piercing through the Nine Slaughter formation, the fist energy did not diminish. It rushed to Longyue's sacred mountain and blasted the mountain-guarding formation violently. One punch broke the Slaughter formation and annihilated the group of heroes. The power was so great, the audience was silent. Such a tyrannical and peerless Slaughter formation was destroyed by one punch. Even the group of transcendent realm existences that were activating this array didn't survive. Everyone was stunned and their hearts trembled. No one doubted that Lin Sun was not powerful. After all, there were too many rumors about him in recent years. Each rumor was powerful enough to shock the world. However, no one expected that with just one punch, Lin Sun destroyed the Nine Slaughter formation so easily, causing those transcendent realm existences to perish before they could escape. This was too terrifying. At this moment, even Dong Wang Jiuhui and the other seniors felt cold in their hearts, and they felt a strand of cold air start from the end of their spines before moving along their vertebrae and suddenly charging to the top of their heads, causing their entire bodies to shudder. This is the power of an immortal. One of the old-timers muttered. He is indeed very heaven-defying. I'm afraid that no one in the same realm can be his opponent. I really wonder how he cultivates. Someone had a solemn expression. Previously, Lin Sun had easily killed a group of assassins from the hidden void realm. That kind of power was frightening. At this time, as Lin Sun destroyed the killing formation of 9 cuts with one punch, those old fogies deeply felt Lin Sun's incredible fighting power. Everyone, let's attack together. We'll use Tao arts to restrain him, use secret treasures to kill him, and use the energy of order to obstruct him. We'll slowly exhaust him to death. Wang Daochuan's voice was cold. His body was shrouded in countless dense sword qi, and the flying swords circled around him like lively fish. His eyes narrowed slightly, and his gaze was as sharp as a heavenly sword as he stared at Lin Sun. All the old fogies nodded, and the aura around their bodies faintly shrouded into momentum, intersecting with each other in the void. Although they seem to be many, they seem to be one. If there is no eternal realm body here, the Dongwon clan will be erased from the world today. In the distance, Lin Sun spoke indifferently, and his eyes swept across the crowd. Ridiculous. Who do you think you are? How are you qualified for the eternal realm body to attack you? Today we will join forces and kill you in front of the mountain gate. Dongwon Jihui shouted coldly. As soon as his voice fell, boom! More than 10 transcendent realm great perfection existences released their aura at the same time, and joined forces to attack. How terrifying was this? The surrounding heaven and earth suddenly collapsed into chaos. The destructive aura was like a landslide and a tsunami, turning into a raging storm and spreading out. The spectators in the distance felt a stabbing pain in their eyes, and their hearts were filled with terror. They all felt suffocated. This time, facing Lin Sun, no one dared to be careless. Many old fogies activated their trump cards, took out their proudest treasures, and attacked with everything they had. Boom! More than 10 terrifying auras soared into the sky, and various treasures lit up the heavens and the earth. The rumbling sound of Taoist voices rumbled like thunder, resounding throughout the world. You're courting death. Lin Sun's eyes were indifferent. Today, I will cut off your heads to avenge the master of Tongtian. With a thud, Lin Sun took a step forward and stepped into the void. The immortal law on his body suddenly boiled and roared, condensing into an abyss and lingering around his body. The aura on his body suddenly began to rise. This was only the first step. Dong dong dong. The second step, the third step, the fourth step, every step Lin Sun took caused the void to tremble, and the heavens and earth to tremble. In the end, it gave people the feeling that the universe was about to be turned upside down, and the world would fall. Step by step, the abyss on his body became more and more solid, and the profound meaning of the heavens and earth emerged, forming the sun, moon, stars, and the world. An immortal and indestructible aura spread out from his body. This was the immortal law tempered by refining 80% of the nirvana order. It integrated with Lin Sun's path of cultivation, and finally formed the immortal supreme aura. Kill! The old ancestor of the Jing clan, Jing Shanhu, was the first to rush over. He raised his hand and launched a dark and gloomy black banner. On the black banner, countless dark and mysterious immortal law condensed, and countless ghosts and spirits of the netherworld roared on the banner. It was the immortal Tao soldier, the purgatory god-suppressing flag, which he was most proud of. As soon as this treasure appeared, the world seemed to have fallen into the netherworld. Hundreds of ghosts walked in the night, and the yellow spring loomed. Countless skeletal demons rushed out of the blood sea, like a mighty army, and rushed towards Lin Sun. 8 directions infinite sword. Mysterious divine fire mirror. Eastern Emperor bell. Sword of judgment. Almost at the same time, Wang Daochuan, Wang Fuping, Dongwang Jihui, and other old antiques also launched the most powerful immortal Tao soldiers in their hands, and attacked Lin Sun with all their strength. Boom! What kind of scene would it be when a dozen lords of heaven attacked together? At that moment, the world was completely chaotic and collapsed, as if it had shattered into chaos. A terrifying space storm raged, and only the immortal law appeared, shining brightly like never before. Anyone below the transcendent realm great perfection would be instantly crushed into dust if they were to brush against it, let alone getting close to it. Swish, swish, swish. Everyone could barely see that in the chaotic world, the immortal Tao soldiers gathered bright divine light, dragging long light tails, rushed towards Lin Sun like comets attacking the moon. Each of those immortal Tao soldiers was powerful enough to smash mountains, rivers, and the universe into pieces. A dozen immortal Tao soldiers attacked together. Even people in the same realm were doomed to be killed on the spot. At this time, Lin Sun's power had been operated to the extreme. His body was like a great abyss, immortal and immortal, just like a pillar of the sky. In the face of such an attack, he just gently raised his hand and waved his palm. Crack! Under everyone's shocked gaze, the purgatory god-suppressing flag in the front was directly broken by Lin Sun's punch. Countless pictures of the netherworld purgatory were torn into pieces, like a fairy scattering flowers. With a puff, Jing Shanhu coughed up blood on the spot, looking horrified. Then, Lin Sun punched again. Bang! 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 The second one, the third one, the fourth one in the blink of an eye, the immortal Tao soldiers, which could be called the world's treasures and were tempered by countless immortal materials, were all easily smashed by Lin Sun. Every blow of his was like a great abyss, with the power to destroy all Tao. It was so powerful that it was a complete mess. The destruction of the treasures also caused those old antiques to suffer from the backfire. Their blood and qi were boiling, and they kept coughing up blood. Even their old faces changed. But before they could recover from the shock, Lin Sun's figure flashed, like a streamer, and instantly flashed between the sky and the earth. Oh no! Dongwang Jiuhui's pupils shrank. The next moment, Jing Shanhu, Zhongli Bowen, and Zhong Yunqi, the three old antiques who rushed to the front, all froze in the void. Their eyes were full of astonishment, horror, and disbelief. In their chests, a huge bloody hole appeared, and it was still expanding rapidly. The invincible fist power exploded in their limbs and bones. Boom! The bodies of the three transcendent realm great perfection, along with their spirit, directly exploded in the void. Their bodies and spirits were truly destroyed. In an instant, three transcendent realm great perfection were destroyed. Between the heavens and the earth, the torrent of destructive power swept across, and the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling resounded. It turned into a chaotic world, with countless energy raging within. At this moment, countless people were terrified to the point their souls almost left their bodies. Three transcendent realm great perfection existences were killed like chickens and dogs. The Wang family was known as the first immortal giant. After countless years of accumulation, there were only 9 transcendent realm great perfection existences. However, all of them were existences that dominated the world and the 8th heaven. But now, in front of Lin Sun, such existences were obviously not enough. For Dongwang Jiuhui and the others, it was like a basin of ice water was poured over their heads, chilling them to the bone. Lin Sun was too strong, too terrifying. Even 3 people in the same realm couldn't withstand his blow. No one expected Lin Sun's strength to be so terrifying. When the 9-layer killing formation was broken and the treasures were destroyed, they still felt lucky, thinking that Lin Sun used some forbidden secret technique to unleash his strength. However, after killing 3 people with 1 punch, even the old antiques were completely awakened. The current Lin Sun was not someone these old fellows could fight against. In other words, no one in the all heavens was a match for him at this stage of cultivation. Everyone, if you don't use the eternal realms will avatar now, you won't have the chance anymore. Lin Sun said indifferently. His aura was extremely strong. He stood there like a supreme ruler. Thinking back to when he was still in the transcendent realm initial stage, he could already kill opponents in the transcendent realm great perfection. Even in the 6th heaven, his cultivation had yet to reach the great perfection level, but he already slaughtered all the old antiques in the 10-clan war alliance. Now, he had the cultivation of the transcendent realm great perfection, and he had refined 80% of the nirvana order. Even if he was only using the greenwood Taoist physique, how could the old antiques in the same realm compare to his prowess? Chapter 3053. Lin Sun's aura was too strong. At this moment, everyone was shocked. On the other hand, the transcendent realm great perfection old antiques all shifted their gazes towards Dongwang Jiuhui. This was the Dongwang clan's territory. Only Dongwang Jiuhui had the eternal realms will avatar. None of the elders from other immortal clan carried such a trump card. It wasn't that they didn't want to, but among their respective immortal clan, such trump cards were extremely limited. They needed to be kept in the clan for emergencies. Originally, they thought that if they joined forces to deal with Lin Sun alone, they wouldn't encounter too many twists and turns. But now they suddenly realized that even if they joined forces, it was very likely that they wouldn't be able to kill Lin Sun. Lin Sun, you brought this upon yourself. Dong Wangjiuhui's eyes were filled with madness. He crushed a jade talisman without hesitation. Boom! A terrifying eternal realm aura suddenly permeated between heaven and earth. In the midst of the divine radiance, a majestic figure appeared out of nowhere. This person was dressed in a silver robe, holding a feather fan and silk scarf. He looked like a scholar, but when he looked around, he had the aura of a king overlooking the heavens. Yang Jiuzhao, an eternal realm existence of the Yang family of the Eternal God clan in the ninth heaven. This is his Dharma idol. Boom! Just as Yang Jiuzhao's will avatar appeared, an unbelievable scene appeared. Then, Lin Sun rushed at the first time. While he was still on the way, 4 doppelgangers suddenly appeared and attacked with all their strength. Yang Jiuzhao's will avatar couldn't help but be startled. Was there such an idiot in this world who would bring about his own destruction? A hint of contempt appeared in his eyes, and he waved his palm. Boom! A dazzling crimson divine light burst out from his body, sweeping across the heavens and earth. Endless light and heat were released from his body. The eternal divine chains that resembled crimson clouds could easily kill any transcendent realm existence. This was the power of the eternal realm. Using the rules to melt gold and refine the sun, it was omnipotent. However, seeing this scene, Lin Sun's 5 Tao bodies didn't retreat, but directly attacked. Boom! Green wood, red fire, black water, and yellow earth Tao bodies joined forces and forcefully shattered Yang Jiuzhao's attack. The eternal divine chains in the sky exploded. Yang Jiuzhao's eyes narrowed. It was also at this moment that Lin Sun's platinum Taoist physique charged over. His pair of hands seemed to be made of incomparably sharp divine gold. He thrust them into the void and tore them apart. Ah! An earth-shattering roar resounded and rumbled through the world. Everyone only saw. Yang Jiuzhao's Dharma idol had a ghastly wound on it, nearly splitting it in half. Damn it! Yang Jiuzhao finally realized that something was wrong. His expression changed drastically, and he circulated all of his strength to counterattack. But Lin Sun's other 4 Taoist bodies rushed up together and suppressed it with all their strength. In an instant, bang! Yang Jiuzhao's will and Dharma exploded. Countless beams of scarlet light rained down from the sky. Each drop was like lava, smashing into the ground and burning large holes. Finally, the area within 100 miles was turned into a sea of fire. In just a few blinks of an eye, the Dharma idol of an eternal realm expert was destroyed. Everyone who witnessed this scene turned pale with astonishment, and they were shocked to the point their minds fell into disorder. How supreme was the eternal realm! Its Dharma idol could suppress all existences under the eternal realm. This was the iron law of the ages, and no one had ever been able to break it. However, at this moment, the Dharma idol of an eternal realm expert was destroyed by Lin Sun in just a few blinks of an eye. This completely subverted everyone's cognition, and they were all dumbfounded. Who dared to face such a terrible opponent? Those old antiques felt cold hands and feet, and their hair stood on end. They finally understood why Lin Sun dared to come to the 8th heaven alone. If there was no eternal realm expert, the whole world was doomed to be no match for him. Boom! The world was shaking. Without giving them time to think, Lin Sun's 5 doppelgangers attacked together. Just one doppelganger of Tao was so powerful before, let alone 5 at the same time. In just a moment, several old antiques failed to dodge and were killed on the spot. Some were incinerated, some were killed by the sword intent, and some were smashed by the heavy fist energy. At this moment, Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies all showed an invincible demeanor in the same realm. They were unimaginably strong, and there was no delay at all. Strong. Domineering. Unbelievably fast. In the past, those old monsters in the transcendent realm Great Perfection were all supreme figures that could make the world tremble with a stomp of their feet. They had experienced the ups and downs of the world, and they had rich combat experience. However, in front of Lin Sun, their thousands of techniques and tens of thousands of Taoist bodies seemed powerless. They were completely suppressed, and there was no way for them to resist. In the world, only Lin Sun's doppelgangers could be seen galloping across the battlefield, causing the world to collapse. They were invincible, and set off a storm of blood. In the end, only Dongwang Jiuhui and the other 5 Transcendent Realm Great Perfection experts were lucky enough to escape into the Longyue Divine Mountain. Quickly activate the Forbidden Array and use the power of order! Dongwang Jiuhui roared. Boom! Countless Forbidden Array's power surged, piercing through the heavens and the earth. Tao patterns flickered like a tide, illuminating the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Before Dongwang Jiuhui could heave a sigh of relief, Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies rushed straight towards them. The layers of Forbidden Array's power were tyrannical, but in front of Lin Sun, they burst like bubbles, forcefully breaking apart. The Dongwang clan's experts who operated the Forbidden Array suffered a backlash. One by one, their divine souls cracked, and they vomited blood before dying. Too domineering! Looking from afar, Lin Sun destroyed the Dongwang clan's mountain gate with a single move. The spectators from afar were completely stunned. They were in a daze, and they were so shocked that they lost their voices. Since the beginning of time, the Dongwang clan had been in the 8th heaven region. When had their mountain gate ever been destroyed like this? Whoosh! However, just as Lin Sun was about to start his massacre, a huge halberd suddenly appeared in the space, slashing towards his 5 Taoist bodies. This halberd was incomparably mystical. It was completely condensed from the power of order. When it slashed out, the surrounding space instantly froze. Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies slightly froze. They felt as if there were countless space shackles binding them, wanting to imprison them. Spirit of order, looking at the halberd slashing towards him, a strange look flashed in Lin Sun's eyes. In the next moment, a terrifying might erupted from his 5 Taoist bodies, and the layers of frozen space in the vicinity exploded with a bang. As for the halberd, it was firmly grasped in Lin Sun's hand. At first, it struggled violently, but it gradually became docile. Clang! Lin Sun's greenwood Taoist body shook his wrist, and the space halberd suddenly burst out with a monstrous wave of order, causing the surrounding space to surge violently. No! Dongwang Jiuhui roared in anger, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. In the blink of an eye, not only was the mountain gate trampled and the power of restriction destroyed, even the spirit of order that had been guarding the Dongwang clan for countless years was suppressed and subdued by Lin Sun. This made Dongwang Jiuhui completely crazy. He crushed the remaining jade talisman in his hand. Boom! A familiar scene appeared. An eternal realm Dharma idol appeared in the void. However, in the next moment, the Dharma idol of the eternal realm was surrounded by Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies in the void before anyone could see it clearly. Rumble, an earth-shattering roar sounded. Unsurprisingly, this eternal realm Dharma idol was also destroyed. A rain of light swept out, destroying the mountains near the Moonlight God Mountain, and countless buildings were turned into ashes. This was already the mountain gate of the Dongwang clan. Without the protection of the restriction and the power of order, it could only be destroyed by the raging battle. Many of the Dongwang clan's experts that were hiding didn't even have the time to react before they were turned into ashes. They were erased from the world. It's over. Dongwang Jiuhui's face was ashen, and he seemed to be on the verge of collapse. This time, he had made ample preparations. He gathered the old monsters of the 9 immortal realm powerhouses to assist him, as well as the transcendent realm powerhouses of the various forces under the Dongwang clan. But now everything was destroyed by Lin Sun's attacks. The Dongwang clan no longer had the strength to resist, run. Quick, run! The remaining old monsters from the other Immortal Realm powerhouses were already scared out of their wits. Their legs were trembling, and they were panicking. They didn't dare to hesitate at all and fled immediately. However, how could Lin Sun allow them to leave alive? Whoosh! The scarlet flame Taoist body teleported and traversed over 100 miles. It appeared behind an old antique and stepped on it. Gotcha! This old antique's Taoist body was instantly crushed into pieces. Countless amounts of blood and bones scattered in the air. The immense power even penetrated through his body and struck the ground, leaving behind a huge footprint. As for his primordial spirit, it was incinerated into ashes by the scarlet flame Taoist body's power. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the same time, the black water, white gold, yellow earth, and green wood Taoist body also made their moves, attacking the other antique. Lin Sun, you will die a horrible death. Lin Sun, I swear that I will never be your enemy again. How about this? Little thing, you will die sooner or later. All sorts of angry roars resounded. Some were threatening, some were begging for mercy, and some were cursing him with hatred. Lin Sun turned a deaf ear to them and ignored them. Boom! Blackwater Taoist physique's palm strike was like a heavenly blade, and it slashed a Taoist into two at the waist. After that, the other Taoists who were fleeing in the other directions weren't able to escape. Lin Sun's great Tao clones caught up to them, and they crushed them one by one like a hot knife through butter. Blood sprayed through the sky. In the end, only the Dongwang clan's patriarch, Dongwang Zhihui, was left. His physical body was shattered by Lin Sun's punch, and his primordial spirit was caught in Lin Sun's hand. He was powerless to struggle, and could be crushed at any moment. The life and death of a sect leader was in Lin Sun's hands like an ant. From Lin Sun killing Yang Zhozhao's Dharma avatar, to his 5 Taoist bodies attacking together, to destroying the Dongwang clan's mountain gate, subduing the spirit of order, killing the transcendent realm great perfection antiques, and finally capturing Dongwang Zhihui's primordial spirit. All of this happened and ended in an extremely short period of time. By the time everyone reacted, only Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies were left in the sky above Longyue Divine Mountain. He was like a god, standing proudly above the heavens and earth. Yes, I didn't update today. I didn't go back to my hometown for the Mid-Autumn Festival, so I'll go back this weekend. Chapter 3054. The mountain gate collapsed, and smoke and dust filled the air. Between heaven and earth, only Lin Sun's 5 Tao forms were left standing in the air, like gods. Woo-woo, the wind howled and the chaos surged. Between the nearby mountains and rivers, it had already turned into withered ruins. Vitality dried up, and everything turned into ashes. Everyone was dumbfounded, looking at Lin Sun's clones bathed in the divine glory of the immortal law in fear. 19 transcendent realm great perfection, except for Dongwang Zhihui, were all killed by Lin Sun as if he was cutting vegetables. Too strong. He was really too strong. In this world, there were peerless existences who dominated the world and crushed their peers. But there was no one like Lin Sun, who killed the same realm as if he was killing chickens and monkeys. You're the only one left. Lin Sun stared at Dongwang Zhihui's spirit with no joy or sorrow in his eyes. Lin Sun, the era will come in 1,000 years. No one in this world can escape, and you are no exception. I will wait for you on the road to hell. Dongwang Zhihui's voice was hoarse, and his eyes were filled with hatred. Lin Sun was unmoved. His divine sense pierced into Dongwang Zhihui's spirit like a sharp divine sword. The latter let out a painful groan, and his spirit tumbled violently. After a while, with a bang, Dongwang Zhihui's spirit exploded and dissipated. No wonder I didn't notice it these days. It turns out that those immortal giants came here through the ancient transmission array. Lin Sun's black eyes flickered. He had already found what he wanted to know from Dongwang Zhihui's spirit. Next, Lin Sun's figure flashed, and he walked towards the depths of Longyue Divine Mountain. Bang bang bang! Along the way, there were many hidden experts from the Donghuang clan. As long as Lin Sun's divine sense sensed that their cultivation bases were above the immortal Emperor realm, their cultivation bases would all be crippled. As for those with transcendent cultivation bases, they would all be killed. This time, Lin Sun still didn't kill them all. As he said before, he only beheaded the leader of the evil forces. Just like how he dealt with the enemy forces of the Sixth Heaven in the past, after destroying their mountain gate and taking away their order power, those characters below the Emperor realm are destined to never be able to rise again. In addition, now that the Donghuang clan has declined, they would surely become the plump prey in the eyes of others. There would definitely be countless people who would throw stones at them when they're down. Lin Sun dared to be sure that after this battle, those powers that were once under the Donghuang clan would instantly transform into hungry wolves and devour the Donghuang clan. Senior, spare my life. Senior, spare me. Senior, I'm only an outer sect elder who serves the Donghuang clan. I'm not a member of their clan, please spare my life. Lin Sun, sooner or later, you will die tragically in this world. In the Longhua Divine Mountain, a chaotic scene could be seen. The members of the Donghuang clan were either kneeling and begging for mercy, resisting with all their might, fleeing with all their might, or threatening the Donghuang clan. But Lin Sun was not moved at all. Although he wouldn't willfully kill the innocent, he had his own bottom line and principles. As he moved forward, the Longhua Divine Mountain was filled with rivers of blood. Shrill screams could be heard everywhere. As for those members of the Donghuang clan that Lin Sun had ignored, they were fleeing in terror, appearing chaotic and unstable. Swish! Not long after, Lin Sun's silhouette flashed, and he arrived at the core of the Donghuang clan. There was a huge mountain that emanated the aura of the Order of Space. Above and below the mountain, the Order of Space was like a waterfall that tumbled about. Lin Sun stretched his hand out and grabbed. Boom! The mountain suddenly crumbled, and a 1,000-foot-long order source essence shot out like a flood dragon and was firmly grabbed by Lin Sun. This was a rarely seen 9th-grade heaven-ranked order source essence. It was related to the Tao of Space, and its order spirit was an extremely tyrannical great halberd. If it was any other transcendent realm expert, they would have to face many obstacles if they wanted to subdue this order source essence. But to Lin Sun, whose undying law was comparable to a divine-ranked order source essence, this rare 9th-grade heaven-ranked order source essence was like a bug. It was directly refined into a pigeon egg-sized pearl and swallowed into his body. If such an order source essence is lost, how can a clan rise again? Unless I find another similar order source essence. Sadly, it's not that easy to obtain such a rare heaven-ranked order source essence. As he pondered, Lin Sun turned around and headed in another direction. Very quickly, the Donghuang clan's countless years of accumulated wealth and cultivation resources were all swept clean by Lin Sun. In the end, Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies stopped in front of an ancient teleportation array. With this array, I don't have to worry about the other undying realm powerhouses fleeing upon hearing the news. This saves me a lot of time and energy. Through this teleportation array, he could instantly arrive at any undying realm powerhouse. This also meant that he could kill his way into the other undying realm powerhouses before the news of the Donghuang clan's destruction spread. Not only that, the old monsters sent by the other undying realm powerhouses to support the Donghuang clan had all been killed. Currently, among the undying realm powerhouses, there was only one transcendent realm perfection realm powerhouse left. To Lin Sun, there wasn't much of a threat left. The only price he had to pay was the consumption of a heaven-ranked order source essence every time he activated the teleportation array. However, to the wealthy Lin Sun, this wasn't a problem at all. Sending the 4 Taoist bodies to act together is enough. Very quickly, Lin Sun made a decision. He left the Blackwater body here to guard the teleportation array, preventing other cultivators from using the teleportation array to leak information to the other Undying Realm powerhouses. The other 4 Taoist bodies took action and entered the teleportation array together. Buzz. In an instant, the teleportation array fluctuated, and Lin Sun's 4 Taoist bodies disappeared. The black-robed Blackwater body stood in the air, gazing at his surroundings. The mountains and rivers were shattered, and the stench of blood permeated the air. It was a desolate scene. I didn't expect this trip to be so smooth, the Blackwater Taoist body murmured in his heart. Before coming to the 8th heaven, he only wanted to cause trouble. If he could injure the 10 Undying Realm powerhouses, that would be enough. The reason why he did so was because the 8th heaven and 9th heaven were connected. Each of the 10 Undying Realm powerhouses had an Eternal God clan as their backing. This made Lin Sun vigilant. If he appeared in the 8th heaven, would the 9th heaven attack him? It was also because of this reason that he waited outside the Longwei God Mountain for several days, giving the Dongwang clan enough time to prepare. He wanted to see if the 9th heaven would send people to help the Dongwang clan. Now, Lin Sun already knew that the Eternal God clan behind the Dongwang clan had chosen to abandon the Dongwang clan. Otherwise, the Dongwang clan wouldn't need to ask the other Undying Realm powerhouses for help. What was even more interesting was that the other Undying Realm powerhouses had already suffered great losses and were in a difficult situation. However, under such circumstances, other than the Fu clan, the other Undying Realm powerhouses all sent Transcendent Realm Great Perfection experts. This made Lin Sun guess that the Eternal God clan behind the other Undying Realm powerhouses were also too busy to help the other Undying Realm powerhouses. As a result, the entire situation started to become favorable for Lin Sun. At the very least, without the threat of the Eternal God clan in the 9th heaven, there wouldn't be many powerhouses in the 8th heaven that could threaten him. This was the reason why Lin Sun felt that this trip was very smooth. Outside the Longwei God Mountain. As time passed, more and more figures began to appear, and they approached the area. These were all spectators. They had witnessed the entire process of the bloody battle. They saw Dongwang Jiuhui and the other ancient powerhouses. They saw how Lin Sun easily killed them, and how the Dongwang clan's mountain gate was destroyed. The reason why they approached at this moment was because they wanted to see what the Dongwang clan's nest had become, and whether they could take the opportunity to loot. For example, loot some treasures that were left behind. However, before they could enter the Longwei God Mountain, Lin Sun's indifferent voice already sounded. When I leave, you will have plenty of opportunities to loot the treasures here. Now, you better obediently stand outside the mountain gate. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. His words caused the spectators to tremble, and their expressions changed drastically. They all thought that Lin Sun had already left, which was why they had the courage to come here. However, the meaning behind Lin Sun's words surprised them, and they also felt a wave of excitement. So it turned out that Senior Lin Sun didn't mind them coming to the Dongwang clan's nest to loot treasures. Naturally, they were also clear in their hearts that the Dongwang clan's wealth that had been accumulated over countless years had probably been taken away by Lin Sun long ago. But even so, they were still filled with incomparable anticipation. Even if they couldn't eat the meat, they could at least drink some soup. The Longwei God Mountain was a first-rate land of fortune in the 8th heaven region, and it had been managed by the Dongwang clan for countless years. Not mentioning anything else, anyone who could occupy this Longwei God Mountain could be said to have obtained an unparalleled fortune, let alone the fact that the Longwei God Mountain covered an area of 100,000 miles, and there were many divine materials and spirit medicines there. The treasures that Lin Sun didn't care about might be considered rare treasures to them. The battle just ended, and it has already attracted so many covetous gazes. When the news spreads out, I wonder how many evil wolves will be attracted, Lin Sun sighed in his heart. There was no need to guess. He knew that the Dongwang clan was completely finished. However, all of this had nothing to do with him. High Death God Mountain. The place where the Wang clan was located. In the eyes of the hundreds of millions of creatures in the Eighth Heaven region, High Death God Mountain was like the world's most sacred place. For countless years, the Wang clan was the supreme ruler of this realm. It's just that in the past 100 years, the Wang clan's power had been greatly reduced. Their vitality was greatly damaged, and their foundation was shaken. Their situation was no different from the other immortal giant. All of this was naturally caused by Lin Sun. Late at night, in the Wang clan's main hall, Patriarch Wang Zhongtian paced back and forth alone. His brows were tightly furrowed. Although his expression was as calm as before, under the illumination of the resplendent lights, it seemed to flicker. Why is there still no news until now? Wang Zhongtian was deeply worried. A few days ago, Wang Daochuan and Wang Fuping, the two old antiques, brought the clan's supreme treasure, Sword of Judgment, to the Dongwang clan to provide assistance. Since then, Wang Zhongtian had been waiting for news, and his heart was filled with torment. Until now, he was already somewhat unable to remain calm. If it wasn't for the fact that using the ancient teleportation array required him to consume an 8th-grade heaven-ranked order, he probably couldn't help but go to the Dongwang clan to investigate. P.S. Yesterday there were many comments in the comments section saying that the plot was wrong and that it had something to do with the 5 Taoist bodies. Goldfish is really tired and thinks that I wrote it wrong. Please look at the first sentence of chapter 2957. I'm worried that you guys are too lazy to read it, so I'll type it out for you guys. On that day, Lin Sun's 5 Taoist bodies moved together and left the primordial realm. These were the original words. In the current plot, it was always written that the Greenwood Taoist body was moving, but the other 4 Taoist bodies were also there. Alright, with Lin Sun's current cultivation, was there something wrong with keeping the 4 Taoist bodies? In the future, I won't explain this kind of criticism anymore. Finally, the second chapter was slightly later. Literature Hall. Chapter 3055. Did something happen? No, I can't wait like this any longer. After a long time, Wang Zhongtian took a deep breath. He decided to send people to the Dongwang clan immediately. But just as he was about to give the order, a panicked scream sounded outside the hall. Patriarch, it's not good. The immortal soul lamp, left by the 2 elders, has been extinguished. Boom! Wang Zhongtian felt like he was struck by lightning, and his head felt like it was about to explode. The 2 elders have fallen? Death is like a lamp going out. The extinguishing of the immortal soul lamp means that the souls of the 2 elders Wang Daochuan and Wang Fuping have been completely shattered. In this case, there is no possibility of resurrection. How could this be? Could it be that Yuan Jiao led a group of old guys to attack the 8th heaven with Lin Sun? Wang Zhongtian tried to calm himself down, but his heart was in chaos. He realized that the worst has happened, and the urgent task is to act as soon as possible. Someone, go and close the ancient transmission array leading to the other immortal giants. Immediately, Wang Zhongtian ordered in a deep voice. Yes. Outside the hall, someone took the order and left. Fortunately, I have already placed all the clansmen in the Great Spirit Tower in advance, and they can evacuate at any time. Wang Zhongtian secretly rejoiced. A few days ago, after Wang Daochuan and Wang Fuping left, Wang Zhongtian had already taken action and settled all the members of the Wang family. Currently, there were only a few outsiders, who served the Wang family in the Celestial Peak God Mountain. Once the teleportation array closes, I'll leave with the clan's power of order and the Great Spirit Firmament Pagoda. When that time comes, even if the Yuan sect's power comes, they'll only be left with an empty sky peak divine mountain. Wang Zhongtian took a few deep breaths and decided to go and take away the order source of the clan now. Boom! At this moment, a violent roar sounded, breaking the silence of the night. Wang Zhongtian's pupils shrank, and his face changed drastically. Could it be that Lin Sun and Yuan Jiao have already arrived? he rushed out of the hall as soon as possible. In the distance, a series of shouts sounded, and all kinds of dazzling lights of the way whizzed into the sky, illuminating the night sky. Those were the experts who guarded the Wang clan, and almost all of them were outsiders. However, at this moment, these dazzling streaks of light were like fireworks that vanished in an instant. As soon as they charged out, they vanished into the ink-black night sky. There were no screams, no struggles. Everything happened silently. Wang Zhongtian's heart sank. How could he not discern that as soon as those experts charged out, they didn't even have the time to react before they were annihilated? Whoosh! He teleported through the void and rushed toward the forbidden core area of the clan. The enemies were already here, so he couldn't be bothered about anything else. He just wanted to take the energy of order away as soon as possible and leave Divine Mountain's celestial extinction. The power of order was the root of the clan. If it was not taken away, there would be hope for them to take root again. Similarly, as long as the clansmen in the Grand Spirit Firmament Pagoda were alive, the Wang clan would have a chance to live on forever. We're here. Soon, an ancient tree appeared in their field of vision. This tree was no more than 27 m tall. It was completely black and suffused with a metallic sheen, and its branches were like numerous extremely sharp divine chains that hung down from above. A horrifying fluctuation of order swept out from the tree, and it gave others the feeling as if they weren't facing a tree but a heavenly punishment that came from the heavens. The Tree of Tao Judgment. This was a rare 9th-grade heaven-rank order that had protected and nourished the Wang clan for countless years. The experts of the Wang clan throughout the generations had risen step by step from comprehending the profundities contained within this tree. I'll bring you back with me in the future. A wisp of sorrow suffused Wang Zhongtian's eyes, but it was replaced by calmness in merely an instant. He took a deep breath and was just about to make a move. Suddenly, an indifferent voice resounded. This is the energy of order of your Wang clan? It really is extremely extraordinary. The Sword of Tao Judgment was refined from a portion of the quintessence energy of this order, right? Wang Zhongtian was horrified. He intended to crush a flying sword-shaped jade talisman that he'd prepared a long time ago at the first possible moment. His reaction wasn't slow, but there was someone even faster than him. As soon as the indifferent voice resounded, 3 figures appeared out of thin air and attacked him in a triangular formation. Bang! In an instant, Wang Zhongtian's immortal law was torn apart like a piece of paper. His neck was grabbed by a huge hand, and he couldn't move at all. He couldn't even exert a single ounce of strength. The jade talisman in his palm fell to the ground and made a dull sound. Wang Zhongtian's face instantly turned pale, and his eyes widened in anger. He felt like he was about to collapse. He was subdued with a single strike? As the Wang clan leader, Wang Zhongtian was also an extremely tyrannical transcendent realm great perfection existence. However, he couldn't imagine how he would be suppressed without even realizing it. He was dumbfounded. This jade talisman should contain an eternal realm's Dharma image, right? Unfortunately, it's useless to you now. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body grabbed Wang Zhongtian's neck tightly, while the yellow earth Taoist body picked up the jade talisman on the ground and played with it in his hand. On the other side, the green wood Taoist body was looking at the Tree of Judgment, not far away. From time to time, the roar of battle could be heard from afar. It was the platinum Taoist body fighting. Seeing this scene, Wang Zhongtian couldn't help but be in disbelief. This time, you came to the 8th heaven alone? That's right. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body nodded. And the Dongwang clan is finished. Whether it's the reinforcements sent by the Wang family or the old guys sent by other forces, they've all been killed. Wang Zhongtian's eyes widened, and his expression kept changing. It was obvious that he couldn't believe it. This is impossible. How can you do this with your strength? It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body said and exerted force in his palm. Whoosh, a rain of flames emerged. In an instant, Wang Zhongtian's indestructible Taoist body was incinerated into ashes, and his spirit was firmly grasped by Lin Sun. "What are you doing?" Wang Zhongtian roared angrily. Even though he was the head of the Wang family, he still couldn't stay calm in the face of the threat of death. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body said casually, "There should be more than a few clansmen in your Wang family. If I ask you, I think you won't answer honestly. In this case, the most effective way is, of course, to search your soul." Wang Zhongtian felt that the sky was about to collapse. He thought of his clansmen who had been placed in the Grand Heaven Pagoda. "No, you can't do this, you can't." He shouted and struggled wildly. But it was of no use. In an instant, Lin Sun's divine sense pierced into his spirit like a sharp sword. After a while, Lin Sun withdrew his divine sense and said, "I didn't expect that you had prepared everything in advance. If I came a little later, I'm afraid that your Wang family would have escaped the disaster." Wang Zhongtian was about to say something, but with a bang, his spirit exploded and turned into a rain of light. This treasure should be the Grand Heaven Pagoda. Lin Sun's scarlet fire Taoist body picked up a palm-sized pagoda from the ground. When he killed Wang Zhongtian's Taoist body, all of his treasures fell to the ground. This pagoda was hidden among them. "This saves me a lot of trouble." Lin Sun's black eyes were cold. If he guessed correctly, the cultivation resources and wealth that the Wang family had accumulated over countless years were probably stored in this Grand Heaven Pagoda. After putting the treasure away, he waved his sleeve. Boom! The tree of judgment was uprooted and fell into his palm. "It's time to go to the next one." Lin Sun didn't dare to waste any time. His Taoist body came to the teleportation ancient formation. Although the Dongwang clan and Wang clan's bases had been destroyed, there were still 8 Undying Realm powerhouses. If he didn't hurry, it was very likely that these Undying Realm powerhouses would escape in advance. Buzz, a wave of spatial fluctuations rumbled. Lin Sun's 4 Taoist bodies disappeared into thin air. Snow Reflection Divine Mountain. The Qi clan, the Undying Realm powerhouses. Late at night, there were signs of chaos in the Qi clan. "Quick, everyone go to the Space Origin Divine Palace. Clan leader will bring us away in 15 minutes. A series of shouts rang out. "Why do we have to leave?" Many clansmen were confused. They didn't know what was going on. "Why are you asking so many questions? Let's leave quickly." In the great hall of the clan, Qi Shuheng was incomparably anxious. He just received news that the undying soul lamp of the old ancestor sent to the Dongwang clan had been extinguished. This grievous news made him feel danger immediately. Hence, he acted immediately. "Clan leader, the origin source of order energy has been retrieved. Clan leader, all the core clansmen have been sent to the Space Origin Divine Palace. Now, we're just waiting for the other clansmen to rush over. I believe that in less than 15 minutes, they will all be gathered." Clan leader, news came one after another, causing Qi Shuheng's anxious heart to calm down. "We can't wait any longer. We have to leave now." Qi Shuheng gritted his teeth and decided to abandon those unimportant clansmen. He directly brought the Space Origin Divine Palace and the origin source of order away. But at this moment, a terrified shout rang out outside the Great Hall. "Clan leader, this is bad. The Space Origin Divine Palace has been snatched away." "What?" Qi Shuheng was shocked. The Space Origin Divine Palace was a supreme treasure that could store a world. Now, it was used by him to store all the clansmen of the clan. But now, this treasure had been snatched away by someone. "Who is it?" Qi Shuheng was furious and his face was livid. Outside the great hall, a muffled groan was heard. The clansmen who reported the news silently turned into ashes and disappeared. Following that, a figure strolled in. He was dressed in a green robe and looked indifferent. It was Lin Sun's greenwood Taoist physique. Qi Shuheng's heart turned cold. Lin Sun. This fellow had actually come for the kill. Why didn't you use the willpower of the eternal realm? Lin Sun asked. Qi Shuheng said sternly, Lin Sun boom. Just as he spoke, Lin Sun had already made his move. His palm and fingers were like swords, cutting down from the air. Although Qi Shuheng tried his best to resist, he was no match for Lin Sun. In just a few blinks of an eye, he was suppressed and imprisoned on the ground like a prisoner. Until this moment, Lin Sun finally understood and said, It turns out that such a big clan like Qi family can't come up with a Dharmalaksana of the eternal realm to help us now. There was undisguised sarcasm in his voice. Qi Shuheng's heart was dead. Chapter 30:56. When he decided to come to the 8th heaven, Lin Sun had already read and understood all the information related to the 10 immortal giants. Although the 10 immortal giants are tied in the 8th heaven, the forces they possess are strong and weak. Among them, the Wang family is the strongest, hence they are called the first immortal giant. The other immortal giants are not as powerful as the Wang family. There is also a gap between them. Among them, the Qi family, Fu family, Dongwang family, and Zhongli family can be ranked in the top 5. Because each of them has a complete and rare 9th-level heaven step order. The Zhong family, Zhu family, Qi family, Mu family, and Jing family are slightly inferior, ranked at the bottom, because the order power of their clans is only at the 9th-level heaven step. Similarly, each of them has an eternal god behind them. In the past, with the support of the Eternal God clan, they could naturally stand proudly in the 8th heaven, overlooking all living beings. Even against the 4 ancestral courts, they had great confidence. But the current situation is already different from the past. A few years ago, with the destruction of the 10-clan war alliance in the 6th heaven, the 10 immortal giants also suffered an extremely heavy blow. Now, the Eternal God clan in the 9th heaven can't even protect themselves. They can no longer protect the 10 immortal giant. And when the gathered power of the Dongwang family was destroyed by Lin Sun, it was equivalent to a serious blow to the other immortal giants. Under such circumstances, even the first immortal giant Wang family was like a collapsed building. When Lin Sun's 4 Dao bodies arrived, they collapsed with a loud bang. There were no twists and turns at all. And the Qi family was even worse. Such a huge immortal giant didn't even have an eternal realm Dharma image. When the patriarch Qi Shuheng was suppressed, the fate of the clan was already decided. In less than a quarter of an hour, in the snow reflection divine mountain where the Qi family was located, blood flowed like a river. The order power of the clan was also taken away, following the footsteps of the Dongwang family and the Wang family. From the destruction of the Dongwang family to the destruction of the Qi family, only a quarter of an hour passed. And in the following time, Lin Sun didn't stop. He killed the next immortal giant. My Fu family has served your Minamoto clan for countless years. We have never had a trace of disloyalty. Why did you not save us? Why? The Fu clan. Before an ancient altar, the patriarch, Fu Chaolan, howled loudly while his eyes were filled with rage, anxiety, and unwillingness. In the distance, miserable screams could be heard. The shock waves from the battle swept through the world and were rushing over at an astonishing speed. However, the ancient altar did not have any reaction for a long time. Fu Chaolan's eyes were bloodshot as if he was about to go mad. This ancient altar can communicate with the Minamoto clan of the 9th heaven. In the past, whenever the Minamoto clan needed to do something, they would issue orders through this altar. In fact, Yuan Changtian and Yuan Shiliu used the power of this altar to descend from the 9th heaven to the 8th heaven. But now, the Minamoto clan had clearly sealed off this channel of communication. The master of the heart core was right. No matter how loyal we are, at the end of the day, we are nothing more than watchdogs in the hands of the eternal gods. Fu Chaolan's eyes gradually turned gloomy, and he seemed to have lost his soul. Is this the passage to the 9th heaven? An indifferent voice rang out. Lin Sun's 4 Taoist forms had arrived. That's right. Fu Chaolon turned around and looked at Lin Sun's Tao avatar. His expression was unusually calm. Didn't your master tell you that he used the path of my Fu family to go to the 9th heaven? Lin Sun couldn't help but be surprised. Is there such a thing? Fu Chaolon's expression was wooden. Unfortunately, you are still far inferior to your master. Back then, he dared to step into the 9th heaven alone and compete with the eternal gods of the 9th heaven. Although your current combat power is heaven-defying, you still haven't set foot on the path of the eternal Tao. Now, in this 8th heaven, the path to the 9th heaven has been closed, and the calamity of the era will descend in 1,000 years. Under such circumstances, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to kill your way to the 9th heaven, Lin Sun said indifferently. There is no such thing as an absolute in this world. In the past, which of you 10 immortal giants would have thought that I could kill my way to the 8th heaven alone? Fu Chaolon was silent for a long time. He suddenly raised his head and stared at Lin Sun's 4 Taoist forms. I really hope that one day you can kill your way to the 9th heaven and destroy the eternal gods one by one. His voice was filled with deep hatred. Bang! Before Lin Sun could react, Fu Chaolon's body suddenly cracked and exploded. His cultivation rapidly faded, and his primordial spirit turned into a fragmented rain of light. I, Fu Chaolon, have achieved the Tao for 190,000 years. When I was young, I was also a peerless genius. Even after taking control of the Fu clan, I have been wandering on the path of Tao, but I have my own unyielding character. I can die, but I will never die in your hands. His calm voice echoed, but Fu Chaolon's body and soul had long been destroyed. The patriarch of a powerful giant calmly chose to end his own life. This was completely beyond Lin Sun's expectations. Unyielding character? If I can't protect my own clan, what kind of unyielding character is that? Lin Sun shook his head and turned to leave. When his 4 Taoist forms left, the Fu clan was destroyed, and the power of order was taken away. Everyone in the clan followed the footsteps of the Dongwang clan, the Wang clan, and the Qi clan. A quarter of an hour after leaving the Fu clan, the Jingyang Dao mountain of the undying giant Zhongli clan collapsed. Their patriarch Zhongli Qing and the other major characters of the Zhongli clan were killed. Their clan's rare level 9 heaven-ranked order power, the Samadhi cleansing flame, was taken away. In the following period of time, the undying giants Mu clan, Zhong clan, and Qi clan were destroyed one after another. Their sects collapsed, and blood flowed like rivers. The 2 immortal giants of the Jing clan and the Zhu clan were already gone by the time Lin Sun's 4 great Taoist bodies arrived. However, Lin Sun didn't spare them. In the following period of time, his 4 Taoist forms met up with the Blackwater Taoist form in the Dongwang clan and began a hunt in the 8th heaven region. 10 days later, in the depths of a desolate mountain, they found the Zhu clan's patriarch, Zhu Fatian, and the other major characters. After which, the Zhu clan also followed in the footsteps of destruction. 1 month later, the undying giants Jing clan who were hiding in a secret realm were found and met with a calamity. Under the sky, Lin Sun's greenwood Taoist form's robes fluttered in the wind as he walked in the air. The 10 undying giants have been annihilated one by one. From now on, they have become the dust of history. To Lin Sun, this was undoubtedly equivalent to getting his revenge. These watchdogs have been killed, but the eternal gods of the 9th heaven region are still indifferent. It seems that the threat of the Great Silence lifespan tribulation really made them too busy to care about anything else, Lin Sun murmured. It's time to go back. After a while, Lin Sun abandoned the distracting thoughts in his mind and disappeared into the vast horizon. In 1 month, the 10 undying giants were all annihilated. This news was simply earth-shattering. It caused an unprecedented sensation in the 8th heaven. All major forces and billions of creatures were shocked. How is this possible? How is this possible? An old man who had lived for a very long time had a dazed look on his face. The 10 immortal giants have been standing in the 8th heaven for countless years, like the supreme rulers, overlooking the world and deterring the major heavens. In the hearts of the people, they were the 10 unshakable mountains. However, in just a short period of 1 month, these 10 mountains collapsed and were annihilated from the world. The impact of this news was too great. At first, people thought that it was fake news and that it couldn't be true. However, after many cultivators personally went to the ruins of the 10 undying giants and saw it, they couldn't help but believe it. The path of the immortal supreme is really so terrifying? It's just one person, but he destroyed the 10 undying giants. This is too tyrannical. The situation of the entire eternal true world has been changed by him alone. All kinds of shocked uproars resounded in every territory of the 8th heaven, and the news continued to spread to other heavens. Legend: this is the true supreme legend. 100 years ago, Lin Sun entered the Yuan sect with the identity of Zhu Ying Emperor ancestor. 100 years later, he is now the Yuan sect Yuan Qing Pavilion head, an undying overlord known by the world, the first person to destroy the 10 undying overlords. The power of one person changed the situation of the world. If the eternal gods of the 9th heaven don't come out, who in this world can suppress Pavilion Master Lin? For the people of the world, the impact of the destruction of the 10 undying giants on the world is absolutely immeasurable. This means that from now on, there will be no more giants in the 8th heaven. When such news spread, the forces of the world will inevitably compete for supremacy in the 8th heaven, fighting for and seizing the territories that originally belonged to the 10 undying giants. A vigorous reshuffle will also begin. The old rules and order set by the 10 undying giants in the past have been broken, and new forces will rise, setting off a new chapter. And Lin Sun is undoubtedly an iron curtain that no force or cultivator can ignore. An iron curtain that shrouds all the heavens. It's no exaggeration to say that although Lin Sun hasn't established his own force, his power alone is comparable to a force that can dominate the sky above the 8 heavens. Lin Sun. If this name was said to have shocked the world in the past, then the meaning of this name now is completely different from before. On the path of the immortal supreme, this name represents true invincibility, a supreme existence that has never existed since ancient times. In the entire world, he is the legend who stepped on the corpses of the 10 undying giants. As long as the eternal realm doesn't appear, he is the supreme existence. An older generation figure sighed with emotion and commented, "Since ancient times there has never been a lack of peerless experts in this world. There have also been countless legendary giants who appeared out of nowhere, stunning each era. However, Lin Sun alone can suppress the same realm cultivators of an era. Looking at the past and present, there is only one person, no one can compare to him,